Bam. Here we are. Thought I would just jump in here for about 10 minutes for all the early birds. Do a little surprise here. I don't usually do this, but I'm happy to do so. Hey, y'all. What is going on, 9mm? Thanks for coming back. You were first today. Hi, Catlin Kiss. Welcome. Hi, Elliot James. First day of Sagittarius Day. Nice. Nice. Way to have your finger on the pulse there, friend. Hello, Gail. Welcome. Hi, Cy Pigeon. You are dedicated, brother. You've been in all the Zoom meetings. You were the first one. Cy Pigeon was the very first face I saw when I jumped into Zoom and I started doing that. Greatness. Thanks for being here. Means a lot that you're still here. I guess that's a good sign. Here we are. Just watched the waiting numbers scroll from 33 to 11. This happens on all social media and to regular users even. Don't sweat the censorship check. It's all good. I've been highly censored for a long time now. I've just gotten used to it, and I've found that it actually is really great because it helps call the trolls, and I think that's a good thing. Hello, Katie Cat. Welcome back. Greetings, Stacy. Stacy, you are kicking ass on the swag. Stacy's my big-time helper. Really thankful that she's here. Hello, Melk 8327. Welcome. The great mother's son. Hello. Nice. King Gerbo, what's going on, buddy? Glad that you're here. It's going to be a good time tonight. I got some tasty treats for y'all tonight. we got some Zen accelerated tonight. I'm excited. Not accelerated in the sense of zooming over it, but accelerated in the sense of we are going into it now. Nice. Sagittarius moon for Stacy. Very good. Hey, Ken. Thanks for being here, buddy. Ooh, I like the new name. Okay, so Katie Cat, why didn't you get notifications? So this seems to be something that's going on with a few folks, and I'm not sure why. And I'm really bummed because who it's happening to are my real dedicated subs. And so what I need you to do, Katie Cat, is send me an email at contactchuckjr@yahoo.com, and I will add you to the list. The list is about 120 people at this point. Usually in the meetings, we get anywhere from 30 to 50 people. Sometimes it goes above 50, sometimes it goes below 30, but that's our average number. And it's a good group. In fact, the opener that I have coming up here in 7 minutes has a brief moment from our time together in Zoom. It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time together. I'm just telling the truth, love. Stacy, you're killing it. I'm just telling the truth. Hello, Thomas. Welcome back. Ooh, look who's here. My love. Yeah, Jenny's right. Stacy's doing an incredible job. I'm going to show you guys the what we got coming up in swag when we start the show. I'm excited. It's some good stuff, man. It's some good stuff. My swag is going to kill it. I'm so excited. It's great. The yoga pants are just a hit. The yoga pants, like my wife was like, oh, I'm definitely going to be having a pair of those. I mean, it's going to be a hit. And then the pullover is just stunning. Though it doesn't come through in the pictures here, I'll show you. My seamstress is going to be sewing me the initial sample, and then I'll show you guys live. There's gonna be a whole way we're gonna roll it out. It's gonna be really great. I'm really excited. I'm gonna have my dedicated site, and Stacy's actually gonna help us get up on my own independent site so that I can then upload all of the PDFs, all the files, all the videos, everything, so that you have a one-stop shop where you can go and you can get everything that I've been doing for the last 5 years. And so we're working on getting that together and providing that for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Hello, Survive and Thrive. Welcome. Nice. I love you too, your watchman. I know we have different views, but I pray but I will pray for you with love. No worries. Having different views is healthy. I think it's healthy. I do. I think it's healthy that we all don't agree. I think it's healthy that there are people, maybe there are people here that think I'm totally a screw up. I think that's great. No problem. No problem at all. No problem at all. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to be here. I'm for you guys 100%. Hello, Philip. Welcome, friend. Welcome. Nice. Well, I'm just doing a little prelude here, guys. I'm going to run the video here in 5 minutes. If anybody's got any question, feel free to ask. It's your chance to catch me before I get going on the formal evening. This is just kind of pre-game. We're all in the locker room together getting ready to go out on the field. Dude, the hoodies rock. Let me tell you. I'm going to show you after the opening video. I'm going to show you. I'm so excited about this swag line, and it's got my imprint on it. You'll see when I show you. I've got some quotes, some things that I often say that I'm thinking about putting on the swag. And I don't know what you guys are gonna think, so I'm gonna pass you guys and see what you guys think. Yeah. What's this? Hi, Ripple. What a great name, Ripple 426. Nice. I like that. I anticipate live, Chuck. So much Friday. Zoom till Saturday. Live take forever. I'm glad you like it. That's good. High Verbal. Nice. You have the same logo as Tom, I think it is. Just waiting till you have the granddaddy of merch, the t-shirt which says Chuck was right about. No, that's not true. I am not right about everything, but I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate the sentiment. Right on. Hey, I know you. Hi, Bob. It was great interacting with you on Zoom. Bob, sincerely. You're like one of my favorite guys on Zoom. I love it. I love your questions. I love your spirit. I love your attitude. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you got a little bit of a European accent. I have like a love for Australian accents and very strong London European accents, the people that are really deep in like Ireland and Scotland and England. Oh, the accents are just beautiful. I love them. I love hearing those people talk. I could just sit and listen to them the whole time. God Eaters hoodies. Yes, that's an idea. Actually, great grandmother, I actually hadn't thought about that, but that's actually a good idea. What could I do with that? Because see, I was focusing in on Zen and stuff, but you've just given me an idea. I could do some KM stuff. We're also going to have t-shirts, so they're less expensive because the embroidery stuff's pretty pricey, but it's a wonderful collector's item. This first go that we have with the embroidery stuff is going to be a real collector item because eventually I'm going to ornament the tree. I'm going to be doing a little different things to the logo, and I'm going to be changing it up a bit. And so the stuff that goes out in this initial thrust of my swag will be one of a kind because the logo is going to change and then it's going to be different. And so only those who get the first run will have the original stuff, but it's real excited. Hey, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. Love it that you're listening in the background. That's fantastic. There's actually probably about 2/3 of the group just black out their video and just listen. I'm sure some of those people are probably folks from my past that don't want to be seen because I'm a heretic and they don't want to be seen around the likes of me. I've got 1 minute left. Yes, it is. I cannot tell you how hard it is to find organic cotton for printing shirts, but we've done it. I've got an organic short sleeve. I got an organic long sleeve t-shirt. I'm going to be going with like a bamboo spandex for the yoga pants. So they're really silky smooth and you guys are going to dig the design, man. The design is hot. And then, so the hoodie is going to be 100% organic cotton. And then the pullover, which seems to be something that only I like, and I don't know why, but it seems to be this quarter zip, they call these things. I've seen to be the only people that wear them. So I couldn't find the quarter zip in organic cotton, but I was able to find it in a 50 or an 80/20 cotton recycled bottle polyester mix, and it's beautiful. I'll show you guys. I'm my seamstress. Oh, and I mean, I'll announce this during the show when I show the swag. But my seamstress, she's in house, guys. This entire project. I mean, Stacy's setting up the web. We met her here in live. Okay. So she's setting up the web and working with me on the swag. And then the gal that's doing the embroidery, literally, she's here and her husband is here on Saturday nights. And then I'm running everything out of the house. Like they're going to ship the stuff to me and then I'm going to personally ship it to you. So my whole swag line is 100% in-house, no big corp involved. I mean, the biggest corporation that's involved is the one that's providing the clothing, and we're getting organic stuff across the board, organic and bamboo. It's legit, okay? It's legit, in-house. Okay, I got to play the intro video. Here we go. Hang on. Cut that out. Okay, this is 15 minutes. This will carry us through the start of the hour at 5 because a lot of people don't get here until 5 after, 10 after. So I'm going to run this video, and then I'll get going with the night. And Pablo, dude, are you ready for the race? It starts at 8. It starts at 8 here. So I'm really excited to see it. If you guys want to check it out, the Formula One race in Las Vegas starts at 8 o'clock when this show ends. Turn on your television, check it out. It's on ESPN2. Why am I promoting that? All right. I'll see you guys in a minute. Here's the video for today, and then we'll get going just after 5. Thank you, Benjamin. I appreciate that.
I
What was
just
the
want
book?
to
Sorry.
say, we got Mrs. Swindle in the house, guys. Say hello to Chuck's beautiful wife.
I don't see her on my screen. Oh, here we go. Let me go to the other screen. Where is she? There she is. Yeah, she's so beautiful. I love her. She's right upstairs. Yeah. She's been a part of this whole journey with me. Jenny was with me all through cancer and all through that episode. It was really tough. It was really tough on the marriage, and she's been a real support to me. And Jenny really always supported me, and she never questioned my choices. When I would choose, whenever we were doing in the therapies and all that stuff, she would never say any question about it. She completely trusted my direction and where my heart was leading me in the journey, because that was really my doctor and guide, was my heart. And Jenny really helped foster and nurture that in me during the journey. So yeah, we've been through a lot together, and she means the world to me. So I'm really glad that she's here today. Thanks for
Well,
being here.
Ms. Jenny, I want to say you have a very wonderful husband. He is a great teacher. He has a beautiful heart and soul.
Thank you.
And we love both of you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Melissa. Thank you.
Just
Okay, Tom, you have. Oh, go ahead, baby. Go ahead and say something, please. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, honey. And
Yeah.
to what you, I don't know who said that, but thank you.
Melissa.
That was Melissa Clark.
Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to be here. Chuck just loves you guys so much. And it's just such a quality group of people. So deep bow to you. Thank you so much for your love and support. Yes, Chuck is amazing. Yes, he is. Proud of him.
Thank you, baby.
Well, we are here for you guys as well as you being here for us.
Thank you so
I
much.
want you to know that.
Thank you so much.
I think what it really boils down to is a revaluing of personal identity. And that when you strip away the feathers and the chants and all the anthropological gimcrackery that goes along with it, what makes it so compelling and so attractive is that it is a more authentic state of being, somehow. Now, why? It seems to me that the reason why is because theories about the world are based on direct experience. The shaman is a kind of provisional scientist, making it up as he or she goes along, constantly willing to revise and keep it open-ended. And information imported from without is extremely suspicious, which is the exact opposite of the way science, for example, does its work. In science, if you have a bizarre result or a peculiar finding, you immediately say, well, go check the literature. See if anyone else ever got this before. Then get them on the phone and we'll see if we can't duplicate what they were doing. What this creates is what we have, which is a vast, low-grade, inductively derived image of reality, where only those things which happen with the greatest regularity and the greatest predictability are authenticated by our languages. So we can talk about rain and sunrise and mealtime and obligation, because these things are repetitiously before us to the point where they have become known as smooth stones are known. But what is not repetitiously before us is the edge of cognition, the unique part of our own felt experience of reality. And the reason for this is very deeply rooted in the culture. It's that we believe in these bizarre notions like consensus, like uniformity of phenomena, predictability, probability. I mean, everyone here believes in probability. Who here could explain it to the satisfaction of anyone? I mean, we are adrift and embedded in a matrix of unexamined linguistic excuses for avoiding looking at how weird it is. And that is what the shaman is not. The shaman, first of all, basically has no real history, cannot consult vast libraries, is not in touch with the reputations, the overwhelming, stuffy reputations of his antecedents hundreds of years in the past. The shaman can usually ask one guy or one woman older than himself, and that elder represents what for us would be an entire epigenetic cosmos of data banks, libraries, hieroglyphic records, museum drawers crammed with artifactoria, so forth and so on. So the shaman's intellectual horizon in terms of what we call historicity is very foreshortened. Consequently, everything has to be explained out of energy that is unleashed in the psyche, energy of speculation, of myth-making, of imagination. And this is, in fact, then what the function becomes, what the shamans are doing. They are not consuming culture, they are generating it. And herein lies the point for us. We must generate culture rather than consume it, to the degree that we take this ideal upon ourselves. What people say, you know, is it enough to just clean up your diet? I mean, how can we react in a ever more stultifying political environment? And if we take seriously the notion that society is an environment, an ideological jungle of competing memes, then it's reasonable to suppose that the most articulately and clearly constructed myths will in fact come to be. That he who can tell the best story, or she who can tell the best story, will see that story come to be. This is what the shamans are doing for their societies. They are exemplars. And this is a point that I want to make very clearly. Really, what shamans understand is that the world is not as it appears. And this is big news everywhere. No culture is entirely comfortable with the news that it's living in a fool's paradise. But in the tribal situation, where sometimes living groups number under 100, and people are living in, let's say, an extreme environment like the highland savannas of Central Asia or the Amazon jungle, there is a social cohesiveness that brooks no illusions about what people are. I mean, it's pretty funky. But out of it comes the exemplar, the exceptional individual, what we call, I believe, intellectuals. And the intellectual is alienated and sees more deeply into things than everybody else, because everybody else is just running around inside the cultural form. And it's very easy to run around inside the cultural form and never to question it, regardless of what it is. But what in Western society is institutionalized as a vast edifice of edge work, personified originally in the idea of the universities and then later in the idea of the scientific and avant-garde artistic community, this institution that empowers the exploration of the unknown, in these tribal societies is boiled down to just one dude or one woman. And that person's job is to push the envelope, to push the cultural envelope, and to come back and report on strange things, and to confound the political leaders, and to control the weather, and ensure good hunting, and work miraculous cures, and make everyone feel good about themselves, and through the production of poetry, dance, mask making, chanting, to give permission for cultural evolution, to empower experiment, to invite people to journey into the cultural self-image. So the shamans are really, in a way, micro-vectors for movement into the future. They are the anticipators.
Yeah, here we are. Hey, y'all. Had a little early get together with, here we are, my chat, but we're here now and we're ready to get the evening started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Really excited about the series about Zen and what we're going to be talking about tonight. I've got some good slides. Some of these slides have been waiting for 3 weeks because it's taken us so long to get through the initial phase, which was setting you guys up, teeing you guys up to understand the world we were going to be walking into, because it's very different than the Western idea of the world. The Zen idea of the world falls very much in line with the stuff that I've been pointing to in my nature series and my Rosicrucian series. And it points to this idea that the world is a wonder. It's not something to solve. It's not something to fix. It's something to experience. And since experience, personal experience, is the only truth you can truly know, the world is composed of truth. And it's hard to see that in a world that is dualistic in its sense. And it's hard to understand that we are living in a wonder when the world has been captured by parasites and the world is such, in many people's eyes, a quote unquote evil place. And all of that is byproduct of how we've been conditioned and programmed through egregores and all kinds of lies and institutions that were set up to keep you suppressed and to keep you from being able to understand not only yourself, but the world that you're in. And by keeping you confused, the controllers then control you. They allow, or I should say, they instigate anger in you, resentment, resistance, and so forth. And it is intention to do that to keep you unsettled and in the state of anxiety. And so the reason why we are doing the Zen series is to naturally and effectively release from the anxieties, from the conditioning that we have been programmed into. So I'm excited about tonight. I'm going to get over here to chat and say hello to everybody and see anyone that has shown up tonight. Hello, Elliot. Hello, Felipe. Welcome. Welcome, my friend. You're here at 2 a.m. in France. Die hard. Bro, yes. Way to go. Right on, dude. Eat it up, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. Hi, Kelly children. Good evening. Thank you for caring for us so much. I genuinely do. We all love you and are so appreciative of your weekly schedule to share your knowledge with us. It's my honor, love. It's my honor. I'm glad to be here. I love being here. I love talking to all of you. Again, thank you for being here, 9mm and Ripple 426. Really glad you guys are here. I'm going to give you guys an update right now. A lot of you guys have been asking for what is going on with the swag. So I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so let's get to the slide I want to show you. Now, first thing I want you guys to know, this swag line is entirely in-house. Every person that is involved in this has come out of the chat community. Literally, Stacy, I met in the chat community, and she is now developing my website and helping me with swag. This isn't a person I've known my whole life. This is a person that I met literally through what I'm doing here. The seamstress is she's the wife of a gentleman that has been coming to my lives. And so the actual person who's going to be stitching the embroidery pieces that I'm going to be selling, she's in-house. She's right here. She is a part of our group. And so everyone, obviously, and then I'll be shipping everything from the house. So everyone that's involved in this is all people that are involved in what we're doing. So in other words, your money is not going to Big Corp. It's going to the people that are right here alongside you on Saturdays and during Zoom. So it's really cool like that. So I started getting samples or drawings from the seamstress. And unfortunately, this week I made some changes. And so she's adjusting. That's my fault. That's not her fault. It's my fault because I made some changes. I made some adjustments, and I'll get into that on another time. But what I wanted you guys to see was the initial look here. So show me. Why is that not showing? There. Okay, so here's the thing. The line is going to be called Nature Creature. That's going to be the name of the line. I am so excited about this. As you guys can see, the tree is there in the middle. It's now colored in, and this would be the embroidery. This is the half, or I should say the quarter zip pullover. This is the one that I'm going to have. The line, we're trying to get everything organic. The t-shirts, the hoodie, the long sleeve will all be 100% organic. The pullover here, I haven't been able to find 100% organic, but I have been able to find it in an 80-20 cotton mixed with recycled bottles. So it's as environmentally friendly as we can get as far as the quarter zip is concerned, because this is what blew me away. I'll tell you guys something. It is so hard to organically source. It's incredible. I would have thought there would have been a big market for organic clothing. Bro, there is not. And so this clothing is going to be really unique, and you guys have to check out the yoga pants. Now here's the hoodie. You guys are seeing it got the same thing. And obviously it's not going to have this black square that you guys are seeing, and it's going to be clear. I'll have better photos next week. But dude, check out the freaking yoga pants, dude. How hot is that? Freaking awesome. So this is going to be yoga pants, and then you can see on the right leg, it has this huge nature creature on the side. How hot is that? And then we got the insignia, the logo, the tree logo there on the pant leg, on the boot leg down the bottom. It is absolutely awesome. And then here on the right, you can see an option for hoodies. We're going to have hoodies that are going to be not embroidered, that will be pressed, and they'll be much more reasonable in price. The embroidered stuff is incredibly expensive, obviously, because it's hand done. I mean, the gal does it right out of her house, and she's right here in the forum. So yeah, it's all super awesome stuff, but it's not cheap. The embroidered stuff. Now the printed stuff, like the pants, the yoga pants and the sweatshirts and stuff and the t-shirts, that stuff will be much more reasonably priced. We'll get that out in a minute. But one thing I wanted to show you, hang on. I wanted to show you this. So I've made some quotes that I want to possibly use on the back of the t-shirts. And so this was my favorite one. How hot is that? I didn't come here to get on my knees. I absolutely love it. Oh my goodness. And then I have another one here. This one's good too. Oh, you can't see it. The pictures are dull, but that says I didn't come here to obey. That's another one that I really like. And yeah, I've just basically put together some. Here we are. So I basically just tried to put stuff together that would be really eye-catching and awesome. It supports my work. It will support people in the group here on chat. And it's all really positive, and it's organic as we can get, and it's all in-house. So yeah, really excited. So Stacy and I are gonna continue to put together. She's going to help program the website, and then the website is going to be naturecreatures.net. That's going to be where you'll be able to purchase my stuff, my swag. And then again, we'll be all running it in-house, and not even a percentage of your payment is going to be going to some facilitator, because I'm going to be facilitating my own stuff at my own website. And then I'll also have a website with all of my videos. So unbelievable developments going on. I'm really excited. 2026 is going to be amazing. So I'm really, really excited. Let's see what you guys say in the comments. I'm curious what you guys think. Do you guys like it? I hope you like it. I hope you like it. I'm seeing yes, love it, nice, awesome. Yeah, heck yeah. Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. It's going to be my daily. Awesome. That's good. I set that up. I should be live on Rumble. Nice, Felipe. Nice. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it's hot, man. I mean, come on. Look at the freaking yoga pants, dude. I thought of that one evening when I was sitting at home. Dude, how hot is that? I mean, come on. If guys wore yoga pants, I would totally wear those pants. What I'll probably do is develop a sweat outfit for guys that'll have the nature creature down the side leg, and then maybe something on the sleeve of the shirt, like something like that. But yeah, man, it's going to be an awesome line. I'm real excited. It's going to support my work here. Finally get some support for this, which would be awesome. And I wanted to say thank you to those who have given my GoFundMe the last few weeks. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. I sincerely appreciate it. Okay. We've got some ground to cover tonight, but I haven't done too much so that we can keep a good pace. One of the things I want to do is I don't want to have these lives be so long. It's really overwhelming for folks. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is maybe start ending tonight, or maybe start ending our Saturday nights at 7:30 instead of 8. I think that would help. We start after 7:30 to start losing people because they're going to bed. I mean, they write me and tell me during the week that they were really enjoying it, but they had to go to bed. So maybe this would help with that a little bit, and it'll also make it not such a big bite that people have to take when they just get started. But I just want you to know I'm sensitive to that, because I know your time is valuable, and giving 3 hours to me every Saturday is a big ask. And so I want you to know I'm not trying to advantage you, and I'm not trying to take your time. But the subject matter that I cover is extremely complex, and it takes time to walk through it, and you can't rush it. It has to be strolled through. So anyway, that's kind of my thought, is that I'm going to try to maybe limit to about 20 to 25 slides a week. And to give you guys an idea, I've done 15, 60 slide nights before, and it's crazy. So I think by containing it to 20 slides a week to 25 slides a week, it'll be bite size, and people be able to handle that and grow with the fam, grow with the group in what we are doing. So yeah, awesome. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Glad you guys like the stuff. Totally, dude. This is great. You guys are so encouraging. You guys are so encouraging. Thank you so much. Love it that the Netherlands are here. That's just so incredible. That is just so incredible. Just so incredible. Okay. Yeah. You guys are so encouraging. Thank you. Okay. Well, let's get into the talk. Let's jump right in. Let's can the comments here from the screen. Let's see. Yeah, Mother Nature, Nature Creatures. Don't you love the name, Nature Creatures? Don't you love that name? I love that name. Okay. Media assets. So, as everybody knows, we are studying Zen. And the purpose of this study, to begin here, the purpose of this study is to relieve you of your anxiety, your anxiousness, because as the Buddha discovered, and as many of us discover, in many ways, life is an exposition in suffering. And an individual has to come to terms and equate themselves through that idea in order to relieve the anxiety of it. And as you guys know, one of the ways that we obfuscate fear, one of the ways that we release ourselves from fear, is through knowledge, is through learning, it's through enlightenment, through light, through understanding and greater awareness, a wider and wider perspective. And when you have a wider and wider perspective, you begin to eliminate the fear, because the fear inside of you, because we fear what we do not know. We fear the unknown. And so Zen is a very deep walk into the Eastern traditions of spirit. And the Eastern traditions of spirit are not beliefs. They are philosophies. They are conjectures and ideas to initiate a conversation. So the idea of the Eastern world is not to convert you. They don't want to convert you. They want you to integrate into the wonder. Okay, so they're not attempting to grasp you, hold you down. The whole idea of Zen, of Taoism, is release, liberation. That's the idea. And the way we liberate is we liberate from the ideas, the circumstances, the programs that have been put into our minds. And because it is our mind that facilitates our experience here in the dualistic reality, because it's our mind that's doing that, it's very important that the mind is clean. This is why it's so important to do things like coffee enemas and detoxing and steam boxes and cold baths. This is why. It's because these are methodologies, ways of cleaning your blood, cleaning your liver. And since your gut makes all your neurology, the cleaner your gut, the cleaner your mind. Does that make sense? And so by removing egregores, by removing the conditioning, by removing the lies, by removing the Maya that has consumed your mind, we clarify the situation naturally. Just like going to a counselor, and the counselor shows you things about your behavior that you're totally unaware because it's you behaving. And so you're not aware that you're behaving in this dysfunctional way. And the counselor, the psychiatrist, is an objective view of you because they're not tied into you like a friend or family. And they can tell you like a coach, hey, here are some blind spots that you're not aware of that are causing dysfunction in your behavior and causing rifts between those that you interact with. And so after a while, when you see the counselor for a while, you begin to realize, holy smokes, the counselor's right. I'm behaving in this way that really is quite odd and harmful to my surrounding world. And folks, it's the exact same thing with spirit. We here in the West have been raised in a Western spirituality that is obsessed with words. It's obsessed with absolutes. It's obsessed with grasping. It's obsessed with beliefs and holding to those beliefs and believing that your belief is faith, when faith is the act of letting go, you see? And so Zen is going to help us let go from these spiritual moorings of the West through our own innate understanding of ourselves and the world, without having to get you to buy into anything, without having you to learn any spiritual gymnastics or any nonsense like that. It's going to show you in practical, everyday, hands-on, get your hands dirty philosophy. And that is a great teacher, because it's encouraging you to participate and get your hands dirty. Stick your hand into the flesh of God, which is the world round about us. You see? So Zen is a gateway to this. And so this is why we're studying it. Here we go. So tonight, we're starting with a put that in your pipe and smoke it moment, because this thing has been sitting for 3 weeks and I haven't been able to get to it. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to start off with the put that in your pipe and smoke in it, because I don't know if I'll get through all the slides, and I'm tired of doing that. And it's a great way to initiate tonight. So here we go. It is important to understand that there is no Western idea of God in Zen. In Zen, God is a developing or process or self-complexifying energy that self-organizes. It is of itself so, just as Lao Tzu tells us. Okay, this is why nature is a good metaphor for Zen's spiritual ideal. Nature is a self-fostering, novelty-conserving wonder, not a ruling form. And so here is our first moment of aha. It is not a ruling form. So the Western God is a ruling God. The Western God created a separate creation. Creation is not God in the Western mind. It is something God made, like God's a carpenter. Okay, this is why Jesus was a carpenter. It's the idea of making, you see? And the Western notion of life is something that you make. Whereas in the East, life is something that grows. Okay, it's not made. It comes out. It is of itself so. The fullness itself comes out. So nothing is missing in the fullness, and the fullness comes out. It's a different idea than the Western, where you have this void. There's nothing. And then God puts something into nothing, you see? Because it's all about making, absolute, securing. What's the story? When did it start? This is the Western mind. When did it start? Tell me the moment of initiation. Because the Western mind wants a finite, absolute, controlled world. That's the Western mind. And you see, in Zen, it is the opposite. There is no boss. There's nothing, no one in charge. This is a growing, dualism is a growing enterprise. It has always been. It will always be. There is no beginning or end. There's no finite. There's no absolute. It's a wonder. Okay? So the spiritual world in the East is not about identifying a form, worshiping that form, giving that form a name, right? Attaching anthropomorphisms to that form, putting that form into books, and the book will tell you about the form. You see, it is not like that in the East. Life is a wonder. It's described not in words, it's described in pictures. Here's a setup for tonight. If you close your eyes and someone leads you to the side of a lake, and they say, okay, I want you to open your eyes for 3 seconds. Look at everything that you can in 3 seconds and then close your eyes. Okay? And so you do that. So you're standing there and you open your eyes and you just look for 3 seconds and bam, put blinders back on. Now, at the same moment, let's say put in a white room or a black room or whatever, and there's just a light on the desk and there's a closed book. And the same person says, okay, This book has a description of that lake you were just looking at, or that lake that you haven't seen. And what I want you to do is open the book, and I want you to read it for 3 seconds to find out all you can about that lake, and then you have to close it. Which person is going to be able to tell you more about the lake? The person who saw pictures of the lake, meaning they saw it with their eyes. No one said anything about the lake. Yet they know more and ingest more in that 3 seconds than you ever. I mean, you'll barely get the name of the lake and its depth in 3 seconds looking in that book. But looking at the lake, I mean, I can tell you the people that are on the lake, how many people, how big the lake is, what color the lake is, the sky, the mountain behind it, everything that's going on. In 3 seconds, I can assimilate an incredible amount of information, right? Okay, take that concept and apply it to spirituality. In the East, they work through pictures, word pictures, not letters, word pictures. Okay. In the West, you work with letters, right? You work with dogma, right? And so what kind of a scope can I get of something if I'm understanding it through pictures or if I'm understanding it through words? If I'm given both the same amount of time of absorption, which person is going to have the greater understanding? The one that is understanding through pictures, not the one who's understanding through words. So the whole first point of Zen is understanding this is not a philosophy of words. This is a philosophy of pictures. It's a spirituality composed of pictures, not composed of words. There are no laws in Zen. Okay. And so this, again, this is a totally different approach to spirit. And this is why the Westerner, when they start hearing of the way Zen operates, gets confused. Gets confused and doesn't understand. Because the whole thing is supposed to be coming to you through pictures, not words. And this is why it's hard to study as a Westerner, because we're trying to study something with words that is really meant to be offered to you in pictures. In other words, learn the Chinese language and you'd probably be better off learning Zen. You know what I'm saying? Okay, continuing on the slide. It guides Zen. It's not a ruling form. It guides without grasping. There is no hierarchy. Remember, there's no boss, no final authority in Zen. There is an ever becoming stream of consciousness known as the Tao or growth. Okay? The Tao is the course of nature. And as nature goes on the course, it grows. As the stem grows up from the ground, it grows into a flower. There's not a finite step. There's no finite steps. It emerges, grows, and withers away. Does that make sense? So in many ways, there's no beginning or end because it began in the seed. Well, the seed was made by a tree. And then that tree was made by another tree, which was made by another tree. Where's the beginning? This is nature. You see? Getting out of the box mind that the Western society demands. Okay. Experiencing bears the fruit called truth that scales the understanding of the Tao. The Tao is the mutual interdependence in life that develops baby in mommy's tummy, the imagination in your head. Where does your imagination come from? Can you tell me? Where's the source of your what in your brain causes your what is it? It comes from nothing, guys. It comes from infinity, right? The forest outside, who organizes the forest? It organizes itself. Or a starling murmur, like we saw at the beginning of the video. These are self-organizing ideas. Nobody tells the tree how to grow. Nobody tells the tree how to make seeds. It is self-organized. Nobody tells the clouds how to form. Nobody tells the waves how to form. There's no boss. There's no boss making the clouds. There's no boss making the waves. There's no boss making you. You are a development of the wonder called your dad and your mom, who came from wonders called your grandparents, who came from wonders called your great-grandparents. You see? You see? Do you see the pattern? This is where Zen is pointing you. Stop trying to find a beginning. Stop trying to find an end. Stop trying to hold to nature. Because when you hold to nature, it's like holding to those that you love. You destroy them. You constrict them. You must let them go to love them. It's the same thing with nature. You must let it go. It's the same thing with the Tao, with God, these ideas. You have to let them go in order to understand, in order to love them. Nature works in patterns. When you find the patterns, it will make complete sense. It will be like, oh my God. And this is what Zen is showing us. Tao is the mutual interdependence in life that develops baby in mommy's tummy, the imagination in your head, the forest outside, or a starling murmur. These are mutually related, interdependent forces. Vibration, waves. Remember, guys, what are we? We're waves that permeate, follow, this is huge, that permeate, harmonize, and animate all things. The Tao, nature, loves and nourishes all things, but this is the key. It does not lord over anything. And this is the difference between Zen and the Western God. What does the Western God say? You must love me. You must love your neighbor. I am in charge. You will worship me. Do you see what that does to your spirit? You see, it locks you into materialism. It locks you into the finite. It locks you into life to cause you to hold to life. And this is your form you're supposed to worship. In other words, do as you're told. Did you come here to do as you're told? Did you come here to do as you're told? No, you did not come here to do as you're told. Did you come here to obey? Did you come here to obey the authorities? You come here to? No, that is not why you came here. Obedience is a part of your life, yes, but that is not why you came here. You did not come here to be prostrate. You did not come here to be on your knees. And the reason you've been programmed in that way is to keep you subservient mentally, not just physically, mentally subservient to where your mind is dead. It's not growing. It's obeying. It's following orders. There's no growth there. There's no growth. You're just on the building, in the building, doing as told, following the leader and behaving as the boss tells you. Is that why you came here? Okay, so the whole spiritual enterprise in the West is set up that way, but not in the East, not with Zen. And here's the key. This is what Yahweh would never say. It accomplishes merits, but lays no claim to them. What does the Western God say? I created this. Bow and worship me. I am the illustrious one. Do you see? Egotism, narcissism. Do you see? This clarifies it for you. Anything that is coming out of the great wonder is not going to demand that you love it. It's not going to demand that you worship what it makes or what it is. It's not going to be a boss. And this is our first walking away from the idea of spiritual life in the West. Walking away from the idea of forms, a boss, and authority, because that keeps you a child in your mind. It keeps you a child in your development. That's why the sinner is still a sinner when they're 99, because they never grow up. Now follow this. This is a brilliant slide. There is no ruling figure. Grow up spiritually is what I mean. There is no ruling figure over nature in Zen, as nature is not a subordinate. It is whole, a manifesting of the Tao, and there's nothing missing in the Tao. The Tao lacks nothing. Okay. There is nothing to correct because there are no mistakes in nature. You ever seen a cloud that's wrong? You ever seen a sunrise that's wrong? You ever seen a mountain that's incorrectly shaped? You ever seen that? That's because you haven't. That's because there's no mistakes in nature or when the Tao manifests. In Zen, the moral code is empathy, not laws. The idea of love is identity, not obedience. Are you guys following this, how heavy this is? Growth is a personal endeavor, not a celestial reach. Many of you, I would highly suggest meditating on this slide later. This is huge in helping you break out, in understanding. The moral code is empathy, not laws. The idea of love is identity, not obedience. Growth is a personal endeavor, not a celestial reach. In every way, then, your experience right here, right now, is the experience of God from the Zen perspective. You see? Because God isn't a form, just like experience isn't a form, just like love isn't a form. Are you starting to get it? You're in a wonder. You're not in a finite. You're not in something that can be described. You're in something that you have to experience. Understand the wonder. Understand the world you're in and what you are. Stop strangling it with words. Stop tying it down to beliefs. It's just like if you had a child and you never let them leave the house. Does the Western spirituality ever want you to leave? Does the Christian church ever want you? No, no. You stay there from birth to you never leave. Never. You see? Do you see the psychology and how whacked it is treating adults like this spiritually? Not letting them leave the farm. Do not leave the farm. Don't leave the farm. Do not say that. Do not look at that. You're not allowed to go in there. You're not allowed to think that. You see? Children. This is how you raise children. This is not how you raise adults. This is not how you foster adults. Do you understand? And this is why the Western spirituality works so hard to keep you a child, because they don't want you asking. They don't want you questioning. Do you follow? They want you obedient. In every way, then, your experience right here, right now, is the experience of God in the Zen perspective. Therefore, compassion and love are not the offspring of forgiveness and grace. Think about that. Compassion and love are not the offspring of forgiveness and grace. In fact, they are the experiencing of God. And this fortifies you because why? You are a nature creature. And nature creatures are nourished by the authentic experience of truth. Love, which is identity. How many times have I told you guys that? Love, which is identifying. Patterns, which is resonance. Do you see the deeper truth? Higher awareness, which is consciousness. And development, which is growth. What are all of these also known as? Identity, resonance, consciousness, growth, the Tao. Or whatever it is, however you want to put into words, that's self-organizing energy. Makes sense? Going back to look at it. Nature creatures are nourished by the authentic experience of truth, love, patterns, higher awareness, and development. Those are the foods that feed your soul. Fill your life with identity, resonance, consciousness, and growth, and it will transform your experience. It will remove your anxieties because your focus is no longer trying to figure everything out. Your focus is experiencing and understanding from that truth rendered to you in the experience. You see, in Zen, it is a totally different ballgame, when it comes to spirituality. And it allows you to grow and develop. It's not trying to keep you in a box. Now follow this. This is greatness. This is the follow-up to this. Same words, just as I found this slide literally a couple of days ago. So here's the Zen master talking to the student. Student, I'm trying to let go of illusion. The master says, trying is the thickest illusion you have. Remember, guys, there is no try. Do or do not. Student, then what should I do? Master, stop pretending you're in control of any of this. Because you give this illusion in your mind that trying is going to resolve whatever it is you think is broken in the world. Stop pretending you're in control. How many times have I said to you guys, life happens to people. What you're controlling is your attitude. But whatever life is bringing to you, you can't control any of that. But you can certainly control your response and attitude. And this is where the teacher is pointing. And so the student, great response here. Stop pretending you're in control of any of this. And the student says, well, that sounds nihilistic, which is a brilliant response. And the master says, only to someone who thinks their imaginary self matters. Now follow the thought in this. That sounds nihilistic. Only to someone who thinks their imaginary self matters. This is the individual who is at one moment caught in a problem and anxious about it. And then in the next moment, they realize only to someone who thinks their imaginary self matters. And what's been really interesting is when we've done the Zooms, there have been folks that have come in And they're really concerned, they're really anxious about some kind of political event or some type of issue that's going on in their local area. And what this is showing you here, oh, sorry, here it is. Yeah, what this is showing you here is that the folks that are tied up in their concerns about what's going to happen politically, what's going to happen in the world, is it going to be destroyed? What's going to happen? How am I going to be harmed? You see, this is the person who thinks that all that they're seeing in the news and media is real. You think that it's this imaginary idea that you have in your head, this projection matters. It doesn't. You must think in terms beyond that projection from your head. You see? And again, right here, he points, the student said, so nothing I do matters. And this is the typical response to the Western. So nothing I do matters, Chuck? And here's the hard answer. Master, not to truth, it doesn't. You ever thought about that? So nothing I do matters? Nope, not to truth, it doesn't. You come into alignment. You come into accord. You balance through truth. Truth isn't going to change for you. It is. Your perspective of it is unique to you, but the truth itself never changes. It doesn't change. That's the self-organizing factor, the spirit that's everywhere. Do you see? Student, then what matters? Great answer here. Master, seeing that your sense of importance is a dream. Isn't that greatness? Do you guys see that? Do you guys see that? It starts, the initiation starts with trying to let go of illusion, you see? And then he responds ultimately, seeing that your sense of importance is a dream. And what do we know about the Tao? The Tao accomplishes merits and lays no claim to them. This is why it's a bad idea to put in people's head that when they go to heaven, they're going to wear a jeweled crown. Do you see how that's materialism? Do you see how focusing on that and wanting those bigger jewels and wanting a bigger crown, wanting more recognition, whatever the case may be, do you see how you're caught up in your own dreams? You see how you're caught up in your own illusions? Do you see how that separates you from eternity? This is the deeper sense that this little statements here is pointing towards. Good stuff to meditate on later. Let's continue. Deeper now. For the very nature of conventional knowledge is that it is a system of abstractions. This is right in the book here. You can see the top there on the right. It's what I'm reading you. It consists of signs and symbols in which things and events are reduced to their general outlines. Now, see, this is reductionism. Putting things into words is reductionism. When I put nature into words, I'm reducing it to the words. Do you see? And what does the West do constantly? Reductionism. The whole Western medical system runs on reductionism. That's why they don't look at you as a holistic creature. They look at you as a problem to solve. As the Chinese character Zhen stands for man by being the utmost simplification and generalization of the human form. I'm sure that makes sense. The same is true of words other than ideographs. The English words man, fish, star, flower, run, grow, all denote classes of objects defined by your local society, or they are events which may be recognized as members of their class by very simple attributes abstracted from the total complexity of the things themselves. You see, it's getting down into the core now. Abstraction is thus almost a necessity. Here's the double bind, a necessity for communication, since it enables us to represent our experiences with simple and rapidly made grasps of the mind, you see? And so this is what is science doing? Just like the geometry teacher. When you draw the curve, that's not a curved line. It's a bunch of straight lines connected together. What do you think you're doing when you're describing spirit in words? Right? You're taking something curvy and you're trying to make it straight. You're trying to straighten it out. And do you see how just doing that, there's going to be a mistranslation there? Because nature isn't straight. It's curvy. But you're trying to describe it with straight lines, namely the certain process that it must function. It must have a beginning. It must have a middle. It must have an end. And do you see, in just naming that, you're taking away from the whole. In the same way, when I name a person, a man, a woman, that is not enough to describe. It's enough to give you a general idea, but it's not going to describe the personality. There's so much deeper than that. And this is exactly what Zen is rendering to the Westerner here. Abstraction is a necessity, and this is how we understand experience. There must be some kind of separating illusion in order for me as a center of oneness to have the experience of another. So there must, this is the double bind I just mentioned, there must be some type of separating dualism in order for me to have the experience of love. So this shows you, actually, it's real important that it's divided up and separated like that, but don't get caught up in that illusion. Fully experience the love, fully experience the rapture, but don't get addicted. Don't make materialism your idol. In other words, your form. This is how you know Christianity is 100% materialism, because it's composed of forms. God is a form, namely Yahweh, namely Jesus. And do you see how this kind of methodology locks you down to forms? Locks you into Maya, locks you into illusions, locks you into dreams. Because you think the dream is reality. That's why the Christian thinks I have to believe right in order to get to heaven, in order to see God when I die. They have bought the dream. What right here? What does this master say right here? Seeing that your sense of importance is a dream. And why do I have a sense of importance? Why? Because so much lack has been instilled into me by the system by describing me in words. That's why narcissists are often people who have been abused their whole life. They have an over sense of importance because they're important. Their innate value has been beaten out of them. So they self-consume once they leave the abusive situation because there's so much lack has been beaten into them by the abuser. And because they've been in a Stockholm syndrome, they've identified with the values of the abuser. So they think the abuse is deserved. Do you guys understand what this implicates in the Western spiritual system? Do you understand how big a problem this is? Because this is rearranging the psyche of the Western man. The concept that I just gave you is rearranging your entire psyche. In other words, changing your values. And what is the point of the Great Awakening? To change your values. For you to recognize your value, for you to see your values. Abstraction, in other words, exactly right here, abstraction and reductionism can only take one so far. In other words, I can only get so far with words. I can only get so far trying to describe God through a dualistic illusion. You have to leave those spaces to understand. Not unwillingly, begrudgingly, because you have to. No, because you are so drawn to leave. In other words, love. And just like I told my dad, when I went to the church to work with him, I came because of love. And when I left the church, I left because of love. Do you see? Holism. Holism. This is what we're trying to understand in the Eastern sense, because in the West, it ain't gonna cut it. The role of conventions in identity and society. This edited self is abstract, only in the mind, based on conventions. The edited self, meaning the idea of you from the Western understanding, is based on conventions, leading to a disconnected sense of identity. And what did I tell you identity is? That's love, my friend. So right there, it's disconnecting you from the sense of love. Do you follow? This is how heavy this is. In Western religion, this edited self this edited self amplifies through concepts like original sin, that's an edited self, or the soul's eternal ledger, that's an edited self, where identity, that's love, is a narrative of past failings. This is how you turn love into lack, needing redemption and hope for an assumed future to come, because that sinner's full of lack, disconnecting one from ever present vitality. Do I feel vitality when I'm filled with lack? No, I don't. No, I don't. And this self-filling vitality comes through the idea of wonder, not words. Comes through the idea of experience, not just reading a book. You see, it all ties together. Zen liberates by exposing conventional as fiction. Select memories aren't the real self. They're abstractions, are they not? Like simplified characters or anthropomorphized gods. Ouch. And reading here, other examples of the same process are the newspaper photograph and the transmission of television. In the former, a natural scene is reproduced in terms of light and heavy dots arranged in a green or grid-like pattern, in a screen or grid-like pattern, so as to give the general impression of a black and white photograph when seen without a magnifying glass. And you see, do you see, do you see how the newspaper, the picture that you see, is dots? And if you take a microscope and you get closer and closer and closer to it, what happens is the dots begin to spread apart. And eventually the whole picture, the whole word becomes illegible. You can't read it. Illegible. You can't read it. Okay. So it's the same thing when you're trying to put the world together through all of these different grasps. Remember how I said grasping at the world? The Western spiritual individual is grasping, and picture those grasps as dots. Just how clear of a photograph are you going to have when all you've grasped are the dots? And you haven't stepped away in the idea of release. You haven't stepped away from gripping to all those dots, those truths that the Bible told you. You haven't stepped away far enough to understand, wait a minute, the picture that I have is dysfunctional. I think I got all the dots. I think I got all the facts. But actually, when I step away from myself and see myself, the picture of anxiety actually renders itself. And I don't see it because I'm right in the center of all the dots, because I'm sitting there holding on to all the truths that the Bible told me, the dots. But that's not life. That's not reality. Reality is not composed of dots any more than it is composed of words. It's a picture. It's an experience. It is far beyond words. It's far beyond description. Point made. So here we continue. This disconnection fosters alienation, obviously, like feeling separate from God and nature. But Zen, here's the response. But Zen reconnects through present moment awareness. In other words, get your hands dirty, dissolving the abstract ego for a fluid, anxiety-free, unburdened being. And what it's saying there is, when you put your hands in other words, when you research, when you get your hands dirty and you start looking deeper and deeper and finding more and more, what happens? Clarification. Dissolving the abstract ego for a fluid, anxious-free, unburdened being. Is that not what you want in life? To be a fluid, unanxious being that completely goes with the flow but has your convictions, which is the paddle in the rapids that are steering you amidst the waves? Is not that what you want, to where you're not going down on the kayak screaming help? You're going down the kayak saying, full send, baby! Full send! Fearless. Right in the midst of the flow. And you can get that grasp when you have the whole setting. If I am in the rapids scared to death and I'm just staring at the boat and I'm trying to stay balanced and I'm trying to use my oar, but I'm not looking, I'm not learning, I'm not becoming, what is happening? I'm dying in anxiety. I'm dying on the vine. I'm dying from my own dream, thinking that my own dream is reality, and it's not. You're just gripping too many dots. You're too close. You must release. You must release. Brilliant. Next slide. Linear versus holistic thinking and peripheral awareness. This is huge here. When we say that we can think only of one thing at a time, This is like, that's the dots. This is like saying that the Pacific Ocean cannot be swallowed at a gulp. It has to be taken in a cup and down bit by bit. Abstractions and conventional signs are like the cup. They reproduce experience to units simple enough to be comprehended one at a time. In a similar way, curves are measured by reducing them to a sequence of tiny straight lines, or by thinking of them in terms of the squares which they cross when plotted on graph paper. Other examples of the same processes are the newspaper photograph and the transmission of television. This communication by conventional signs of this type gives us an abstract, see, understand your view is abstract, one at a time translation of a universe in which things are happening all together, all at once, all at the same time, right now, a universe whose concrete reality always escapes perfect description in these abstract terms. And this here is describing to you exactly this concept, that each one of your experiences are like a drink of water. And every time you get a drink of water, you're taking in more and more of the reality that's out there. Do not attach these things or bind these things down to concepts. Let the experience flow through you and learn through the emotional and feeling state that your heart communicates to you as you ingest. This is a contemplative, meditative approach. Not grasping, but releasing. Having the experience, but not trying to define it and determine it. Not holding to it. Celebrating its life, celebrating its death. This is beautiful. You see? And the deeper and deeper you see into the world, you see, it requires a further and further and further, meaning more and more letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go to see it more and more clearly. So again, there's nothing wrong with drinking in the dualism, drinking the cup by cup, drinking in the spot by spot. That's fine. Don't get caught in it. Don't think that's it. You're just getting a portion. But keep your perspective, which will release you from anxiety. Your perspective being, this is just my experience, but the world is much larger. Learn about it through my experience, but do not hold on to the world through that experience. It's a flow. Just like learning math, you learn in stages. And as you get better and better and more proficient at math, you're able to use the logic and skills and all this stuff you've been learning for years and years to tackle larger and bigger mathematical problems. Think of life in the same way. And this is why the child doesn't have discernment. And this is why it's such a good idea to keep growing in your spirit, because your world as a child will not be the world that you experience as an adult. And so trying to force the spiritual world that you were fed cup by cup when you were a child into nutrients, into nutrition. As an adult, you're going to starve. You're going to emaciate. You're going to be disillusioned with reality because it's not going to fit in the cups from your childhood. Zen is the way to begin to release from this self-obsessed idea. You see, and it happens in these kinds of concepts. Okay, continuing. Should we go to, maybe I should go and take a break, go to chat. Hang on, let me see where we are. Okay, we just finished that slide. So this is slide here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, slide 7. So let's go to chat and let's see what's going on in chat. If you guys got any questions, I'm gonna go right to the bottom. So put your questions in all caps. Holy smokes, dude, how many freaking questions? I'm still scrolling. Okay, here we are. Okay, Elliot James. Yes, yes, yes. Good. That's a good approach, Lancelot. That's a good approach. You guys got any questions? I'm at the bottom. Put all your questions in caps. Put your questions in all caps. I'm at the bottom. Here it is. Here's the first question. What is this? Here. Hi, Brian, on. Nice. What is your outlook on prayer now? And do you see any kind of comparison with prayer meditation? No. But meditation is a state of release. Prayer is all in the mind. Prayer is putting all these anxieties in your mind and, quote unquote, placing them on God, whereas meditation is the act of release. This is why and I'm just speaking for me personally, I have found that prayer isn't a good idea. I'm just saying for me personally, I'm not telling you, I'm not saying this is the law. I'm saying that for me personally, I have found that prayer just keeps me in the anxious state because I'm just reviewing all the things that are concerning me, all the questions I have, and I'm just reiterating those to God, keeping me in that state. Whereas with the meditative state, what am I doing? I'm releasing from my anxieties. I'm approaching the world from a higher perspective. I'm not trying to approach the world from this linear, word by word, cup by cup perspective. I'm approaching the world from the overall perspective where I'm not just seeing the lake where I'm getting my water. I'm actually way above the lake, looking down and seeing the entire lake and everything that surrounds the lake and why the lake is there. Okay. And so prayer brings you back into the anxiousness. I'm telling you, it's methodical. They knew what they were doing, and it keeps you locked down in that concern rather than releasing from it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. It's wishing, it's dreaming. It's wishing and dreaming. Okay. Here, this is a good question. Let's look here. 900 days over. Is dreams a form of the free spirit awakening you? Could be, because dreams come from your subconscious. Dreams surprise you, even though it's you that's dreaming. You will wake up in the morning and say, this is an amazing dream that I had, and it's unbelievable. And you go all through it. You have no idea where it came from, but it came from you. You're in a wonder, you see? And so, yes, these are all part of the spiritual aspect, the undergirding mind, the unconscious mind. This is where your core motivations are coming out of. This is where what you love and don't love comes out of you. Who you like and don't like comes out of you. It comes from within you, this deep portion inside of you. So anyways, yeah, I don't, I do believe that dreams are definitely a portion of the spirit for sure. Okay, next question. I like this. This is fun. Sophia, hello. When you are meditating, does it come from oneself or the collective realm? Well, the whole idea of meditation is releasing from the idea of a self, releasing from the body, leaving the body's concerns, but not because you're denying them, because you accept them and integrate them. They are a part of your learning. They are a part of your growth. They aren't to be vomited. They're to be ingested and learned from. Right? That's why I'm not a big proponent of forgiveness. It's not necessary. For the person who has to be forgiven is holding. The person who feels like well, I shouldn't say that, but the person who feels like I have to be forgiven, right? I have to be forgiven or I can't let this go. Well, you see, they're putting themselves in their own cell. They're tying themselves up. So anyways, yes, meditation is about coming into resonance with nature, coming into resonance with your core, with nature's core, with all that is around you. The center that is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. This is what you're tapping into in meditation. I love these questions. Let's keep going. I love this. Esoteric. Hello, love. Run, Force, run from Western words to the Zen house. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Nice. I would hope so. How do you feel regarding manifestation? Manifesting what, love? Or manifesting what, sir? How do you feel regarding manifestation? I mean, you manifest, this is epigenetics, you manifest where you put your mind, right? So if I want something, I raise my vibration. I raise my mental to the vibration to match that of what I want. And I manifest what I want by raising my environment to what I want. You see, this is the act of self-responsibility. Yeah. Access to the sum total of the entire consciousness. Yes, Catlin Kiss, yes. You are communicating with yourself often in a cryptic way. Yeah. Yeah. It's like learning. It's like, no, I'm not going to say that. It's like learning a new discipline. like when you exercise, let's say like you become a boat rower, and so you're going to be building your shoulder, arm muscles, core muscles, leg muscles, because you're learning to row. So you're building those muscles so you become a better and better and better rower. Okay. And it's the same thing with your humanness. You realize your humanness through these meditative states, through this idea of release, right? And this brings out your compassion and love. In other words, you are exercising. You are being proactive in your realization. So in other words, meditation isn't checking out, it's checking in to the bigger sum total, checking out from the ego-oriented ideas, but checking into the larger vibratory space of which you are, in which you are engulfed. Yeah? And so the dream is the unconscious. It's this way of communicating, meaning meditation, is this way, this language of communicating with the other world, meaning the undergirding world, that which can't be put into words. And so you have to exercise your brain muscle in order to enter in these meditative states of release more and more quickly. That's why you see those Buddhist meditators in the East that have been meditating their entire life, and they can sit outside in like minus 30 degree weather, and all the snow melts around them and no snow lands on them, because they're in this high vibrational state and they have so exercised that muscle. It's like seeing a person who's trained their whole life in the 100-yard dash. I mean, it is something to behold when you see those Olympic athletes take off and run. It's utter beauty when you see the body that has been so incredibly trained. And it's the same exact thing with meditation. You exercise that muscle, that mental muscle, and over time it gets stronger and stronger, and your ability to release, your ability to understand the world, your ability to contain just what you are, understanding that is increased because you're exercising that mental muscle, and this frees you. Okay. Continuing. Where's the next? Boy, you guys are kicking it. Okay. Yeah, where your focus is, there is your energy. Yep. I manifest. Here we go. Where's the question? Did you want cancer? Absolutely not. No. Often, this is actually an insightful question. Oftentimes, when you realize, or life delivers you a whammy and you realize what it's going to take, what's the first thing that happens is denial, right? So the first thing that happened when I was diagnosed with cancer was denial. And that's when you know that you're on a big journey. Like that's the beginning of a big journey, when you're going in saying, I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. And you go. This is the merciless of nature shoving you into that space. And that shoving is the doctor saying, you got 8 months. Now I've been shoved into the space. Do I want to be in that space of dying in 8 months? No, I don't. But because I have to be in that space, I must come into accord with the space, or I'm only going to get sicker and sicker. So one of the first things you have to do when you find out you cancer is accept the fact, I got cancer. I got cancer. And the only way I'm going to quench my fear of it is if I learn all about it. Because I am this is it. I have fallen into the trap, whatever you want to call it. I've fallen off the cliff or whatever. I'm going to have to stand up. I'm going to have to reclimb. I'm going to have to do the work. No one's going to be able to handhold me through this. I have to do it myself. And very rarely do you want something like that. That's why your best lessons are your toughest lessons, the ones that you didn't want. Those are the ones that teach you the deepest truths. You see? Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Stacy. Exactly, love. Okay. Okay. I'm just making sure you guys don't got any questions in here before I go back to the lesson. Okay. Hi, Shan. Okay. At what point did your wife become comfortable with what you have become? This is good. It seems she is as you are in many ways, but we do definitely see spiritual things differently. She said she supported you the whole time. Were there times that were questioning because of change? I'll tell you, the biggest resistance that happened was when I bought a book by Rick Strassman. It's called DMT. What is it called? That book by Rick Strassman. Chat, can you help me? but the book by Rick Strassman about DMT. And I bought that book and I left it on the place where I left my keys when I would get home from work. And Jen came home and she saw the book and freaked out because the book is about people who have taken DMT, which is a hallucinogenic drug. And this really unnerved and upset Jenny because Jenny at that time didn't understand the value of plant medicines. And so it freaked her out because she didn't know. Remember, we are afraid what we don't understand. And so right at that initial point for about a year, I was buying these books and engaging in these psychedelic type of ideas, not the actual experience yet, but I was just reading and researching during this time. She was freaked out. And so it took a little while of conversations of us talking about it for her to develop an understanding. What you guys need to understand, anytime you're approaching someone about this kind of thing and they're freaked out, they're like, I don't know why you're even mentioning taking something like that, because that's crazy. The government tells me all the time I shouldn't take it and I'm not going to take it. When you're around someone like that, you have to be very careful how you're approaching them, because you're going to have to win them in order to get them to see your perspective. You're not going to be able to come in and pound them into understanding. You're going to have to entice them into understanding. And so the way I quenched the fear in my wife that she had for this new understanding that I was pursuing was by having very long dialogues with her to help her understand this isn't a frivolous thing. I'm not just going out and, buying drugs off the street and going for dude, it's not like that. This is a methodical approach to understanding how do I change my mind? How do I get out of the spiritual concepts that have been programmed and conditioned into me? Because that's not something you can just forget. That's not something you just can say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go over there and do that. You don't do that by free choice. You do that by a catastrophe. You do that by a car accident. That's how that happens. That's how you transform. And so, yeah, definitely there was a time of great tension between me and Jenny, but she integrated very quickly. And now Jen, she's one of the biggest proponents of microdosing mushrooms that I've ever talked to. Like, Jen loves plant medicines. She takes RSO every day. It helps her equalize. It removes her depression. It gives her energy. It makes her feel wonderful. Okay. And so that's just a plant oil. That's always a plant oil. Okay. And so Jen got to these spaces of comfort and being able to be comfortable taking these things and doing this kind of thing because we talked together and I helped her understand, no, this isn't a crazy idea. This is actually mind expansion. This is actually how you grow your brain. You see, you grow it through larger and larger concepts, through releasing of the smaller concepts that have been programmed into you and embracing the larger concepts that are available to you. And Zen is a wonderful doorway. That's why we're studying Zen. You see, it's a gateway to help us find the understanding, the inner standing within me and within her. Okay, but like I said, her spiritual side, how she expresses her spirit, what she does spiritually, her rituals, what she does and all that kind of thing are totally unique to her. And I celebrate that. Great for her. Is that the kind of thing that I engage in very much? No, but that's not the way that I am. That's the way Jenny is. And that's to be celebrated. Again, our differences are to be celebrated. And this is how, as a couple, you can work through these very difficult times. Okay. Chuck. Hello, DB252. Chuck, how do we defeat transhumanism, technocracy, world agenda awareness, and the golden dome of drones, 5G satellites awareness, and microwaves and nanotechnology augmentation? That's a funny way to put it, augmentation. Being connected to the cloud. Yes, this is an awareness experience, my friend, and part of that whole stuff that you're talking about is release. And so you say to me, but Chuck, they have all the 5G satellites that are bombarding me and they're going to destroy my brain. Yes, they will. That's why we all have to awaken so we can put a stop to those things. We're responsible. Okay, we're responsible in that we've been complicit. We've believed the egregores. Okay, understand there has been all kinds of crime that has been involved in keeping you deluded. I understand that. They're not keeping you deluded by giving you the authentic truth. That's not what's happening here. It's very clear that these are intentional means and ways to shrink your consciousness. And so the way we're going to oppose that as a society is by all of us awakening and beginning to put a stop to these things. It's not going to happen in a year or two. This is going to be probably like a decade of time of changing everything back to a humanness, humane world, a partnership-oriented society. That does not happen overnight. You cannot stop the Titanic on a dime. It's going to take you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards to stop that thing when it's at full tilt, right? And it's the same thing with the earth, with the human population, the human collective. We are all abused, man. We have been ritualistically abused, okay? We all are being bombarded with technocracy, transhumanism, 5G satellites. That's all part of the abuse. The Great Awakening is the ending of these things, or the amalgamating of them, so to bring about greater and greater humanness. It was designed to destroy you, but we have to change it. We have to take that which was meant for evil and turn it into that which is meant for good. That's our role. That's the bigger picture. Okay? We're in a fight. Okay? There are casualties happening. Yes, there are people that are dying from this that you're mentioning here. Transhumanism, technocracy, 5G satellites, microwaves, nanotechnology. They're right now, people are dying in mass because of that. We must awaken in order to change that. No savior's coming. No God is coming. We, as the collective, must change. That's why I'm preaching to you guys every week. You must awaken yourself. You must do the work. You, me, each participating member of the society. Work to put a stop and end to these things. Educating yourself, protecting yourself, doing what's necessary to detoxify yourself. Why am I always talking about coffee enemas? To detoxify from the crap this stuff is putting in you. It's a fight. Okay? Engage, fearlessly engage. Do the coffee enemas. Do the mental work. Study the different spiritualities that are available to you. Understand your physiology. Ingest foods that are organic and healthy and helpful to you. Take your enzymes. Take your supplements. That's your job, man. You're on a battlefield. Seriously, that's what the world has become. So enjoy the battle. All in. Learn, grow, become. Don't act in fear. Don't be afraid. Engage. Full send. You see? Risk is part of it, man. Risk is part of it. We are at risk. Yes, we are at risk, which is why we all must awaken and be lights to others. We save ourselves here. We save ourselves. Okay. Yes. Yes, I do. I believe that they can. Yes. Yes, if I understand outer reality, how you're talking about it, we affect things. That's what we do here in the collective. I mean, we're here to bring about a new reality, a new understanding, a burgeoning, a growing, an augmented reality. That's what we do. What do you see people doing on the planet? Building empires, building skyscrapers, building art, making music, writing books, performing poetry, the theater, technological growth. We are morphing the world, folks. That's beautiful. That's the imagination coming. You may not like some of it. You may disagree with some of the development. That's normal. Welcome to the human collective. We're not all going to agree. We're going to have disagreements. Okay? So all a part of that are our decisions. I mean, your attitude is your choice. Well, that affects your world. If you got a shitty attitude, well, you're going to surround yourself with a shitty world. Epigenetics. So our attitude towards what's being done to us must change. Stop cowering and running in fear. Educate yourself. Detox yourself. Take the supplements. Eat the healthy food. Engage. Don't run. Engage. Be there for your fellow humanity. Be a light and source of encouragement to others. Folks, we do it. We do it here. So the doctors can make people sicker. Yes, that's what they do, is make people sicker. There's no money in healthy patients. There's no money in dead patients. There's money in sick patients. The entire Western medical industry is set up to keep you sick. Yeah, he's amazing. Wim Hof is amazing. Okay. Yeah, they will. Yes, they will. They tried to give me chemo. I said, no, you're not going to do that to me. What would you like to know, Nancy, on forgiveness? If extending on what I was saying before, if you're requiring forgiveness in your life, if you're demanding forgiveness in your life, right? You're on a lower vibration than the person who transcends the idea of forgiveness. Requiring someone to apologize to you, you're just entering into their world. You're lowering your vibration to their level because you're demanding forgiveness from them, or for them to forgive you, whatever the case may be. I just think it's an anchor. Nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with forgiving others. That's great. That's beautiful. But don't require it. Don't keep yourself locked down because someone doesn't apologize to you. Get over yourself then. If you're requiring someone to apologize to you, you are completely self-consumed. Get over it. If they apologize to you, great. Wonderful. You'll be able to deepen your relationship with them. But if they refuse to apologize or whatever, move on. Move on. Don't hold to needing that forgiveness aspect. I'm not exactly sure what you need, so I'm just guessing. That's my thought, though. Okay. Should we keep going? It's 6:25. Okay. Here. The comments are incredible. Here's a happy one. Balanced mobility therapy. Awesome. That's a great name. Chuck, dude, thank you for suggesting. Digestive enzymes. Heck yeah. Already seeing the results of that. Yes. My friend just mentioned digestive bitters, and now we are considering making our own. Heck yeah. Go for it. Be careful, though, with anything fermented. Just be careful. You're growing bacteria, so just be careful. I mean, apple cider vinegar with the mother is probably one of the greatest ferments you could ever drink. So you don't have to, it's great. You want to make your own stuff. I'm not putting that down. Experiment and all that stuff. But make sure you got a professional with you, hopefully. And then also, you can always just take organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, and you'll get all that fermented goodness for your immune system and all that good stuff, detoxing your liver and detoxing your kidneys, especially. That's really good for. I had like 5 or 6 kidney stones, and I dissolved all of them with apple cider vinegar. Okay. Too many questions. I can't get to all of them. Let's go back to the lesson, and we'll keep going. I'll come back to chat in a minute. Okay, media assets. We were on 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna every neural. Okay, so here. Linear versus holistic thinking and peripheral awareness analogy. The linear, one-at-a-time character of speech and thought is particularly noticeable in all languages using alphabets representing experience in long strings of letters. Now follow. It is not easy to say why we must communicate with others, speak, and with ourselves, think, by this one-at-a-time method. Life itself does not proceed in this cumbersome, linear fashion. Remember, it's all the time, everywhere, all at once, now. So it's not coming to you at a line. Life isn't coming to you as a stream of letters. It's coming to you as a experience emerging. Okay? And so here, trying to understand life through a stream of letters, you see how that's going to be frustrating. So continuing, and our own organisms could hardly live for a moment if they had to control themselves by taking thought of every breath, every beat of the heart, every neural impulse. And a great example of this is when you wake up in the morning. Now imagine if you had to think through, okay, I got to raise my heart rate, got to increase my breathing rate, I got to increase my pulse, I have to increase my blood pressure, I'm going to have to put muscles into use in my legs and arms, so I'm going to have to grab. It all happens. You wake up, everything self-regulates. You don't even think about it. You hop out of bed, you walk to the bathroom and take a leak. That all happens You're not thinking about it. It just becomes. And this is the way life is. It becomes all at once. It just happens. Okay, so there is then an analogy, and perhaps more than a mere analogy, between central vision and conscious one at a time thinking, and between peripheral vision and the rather mysterious processing which enables us to regulate the incredible complexity of our bodies without thinking of it at all. Again, this is the intention without intention thing. Let's explore further. Linear versus holistic thinking. On the Chinese, in this respect, the Chinese written language has a slight advantage over our own, and perhaps is symptomatic of a different way of thinking. Ding! This is what I teed you guys up with today. It is still linear. See, it's still linear. It's still a series of abstractions taken one at a time, but it is written, but its written signs are a little closer to life than spelled words, because they are essentially pictures. And as a Chinese proverb puts it, one showing is worth 100 sayings. Okay, and so this is how life comes at you. It doesn't come at you in a stream of letters. It comes at you all at once, like a painting on a wall, or like when you're traveling down the highway and all the road and the cars and the buildings, everything are just coming at you and flying by you, and it's all happening. There are cars in many lanes. There's people doing things that you're crossing over with the bridge. There's all kinds of stuff going on at the same time. In other words, it's too much to take in, each one linearly. It all comes in pictures as you look around. And this is a much more efficacious way to understanding, because pictures speak more words than the individual letters. So if I want to learn something new, it's better if I'm exposed to it right now, getting my hands dirty, than I am reading it in a book. Do you follow the logic? And this is what Zen is based on. The point here is that the Western language thinks in terms of linear, point to point, brick on brick to communicate. This is the problem. Whereas the Chinese language is composed of pictures, images, rather than letters or words. Both linear and Far East languages are indeed symbols, but the letters of the Chinese are composed of pictures rather than formal letters. So the Chinese grasps the intent of the script all at once, rather than bit by bit. Compare, for example, the ease of showing someone how to tie a complex knot with the difficulty of telling him how to do it in words alone. Think about that. Perfect illustration. I'm going to teach someone to tie a knot, but I can't use the actual string to teach them. I'm just going to try and tell them and describe it to them. How much more effective would it be if I don't say a single word? I walk up to them and I simply show them the knot with my hands and walk away. They will immediately know how to tie that knot. No confusion, no misunderstanding. Now imagine, now take that concept further. Consider how much more conducive pictures would be in describing spiritual states, feelings, and emotions. Do you understand that? So if I'm going to be walking into the spiritual realm, am I going to be wanting to walk into that realm with a stream of letters or with an organic picture? You see? This is what Zen is trying to show you. By learning spiritual, this is what the Zen Buddhist is saying. By learning, you Westerner, because you learned everything in a stream of words, you are caught up. You are shackled to. You are bound by that. Streams of words. So if you want something bigger, you must leave that stream. If I want new water, different water than I've been drinking, I must leave the water I've been drinking, go to another place and drink that water, which will taste different, be in a different location, shaped differently, meaning the stream will be different, its flow will be different, its flavor will be different, right? It's still water, but it's totally different experience. Okay, same exact thing here with Zen. Here it's showing you, okay, you've had the spirituality from this stream, this linear stream of cognizable events that you've put together for understanding. And then here, I'm going to take you over here to this other space, which has spirituality, but it's coming at a different rate. It's a different kind of flavor. It's a different kind of picture. It's a different setting. It has different rules and regulations, meaning it's running on empathy, not on law. You know, it's running on experience, not on directives. You see, it's running on growth, not on capture. You see? And so when you can see this kind of situation clearly, well, it makes very much sense to you in your common ground, pragmatic sense. Wait a minute. Just how deep is my spirituality going to this area? And what do I avail myself of considering spirituality from that area? And isn't that area going to be able to show you a larger world than what this area is showing you? Common sense. And this is what it's pointing towards here. You're gathering understanding from a position of looking at a picture rather than looking at words. And so it is much easier to embed yourself into the picture than it is to embed yourself into the words. And therein, just on the surface, just looking at it on the surface gloss, you can see which one is going to be able to offer you a larger perspective. I'm not saying which one is right. Which one is going to offer you a larger perspective? The new perspective, the one that comes to you in pictures, the one that isn't held down in belief, the one that is based in faith. That one is going to be able to offer you a larger perspective. Well, that's how I grow. That's how I heal. And this is exactly the way Zen works and why it's so important. Linear versus holistic thinking, again, continuing. Now, the general tendency of the Western mind is to feel that we do not really understand what we cannot represent, what we cannot communicate by linear signs, by thinking. We are like the wallflower who cannot learn to dance unless someone draws him a diagram of the steps because he doesn't get it by the feel. I mean, how much in music is just learning by feel? For some reason, we do not trust and do not fully use the peripheral vision of our minds. And it's talking in the spiritual context. We are not suggesting that Westerners simply do not use the peripheral mind. Being human, we use it all the time. And every artist, every workman, every athlete calls into play some special development of its powers. But it is not academically and philosophically respectable. That's why the woo, the scientists don't like it. They don't like you talking about Three-Eye Atlas being possibly a spaceship. They don't want that stuff. No, you're not going to be thinking like that. They don't want you using your peripheral vision. They want you using the mind that they programmed. They don't want you using your peripheral vision because then you're going to start noticing stuff that isn't on the agenda. And the controller, the degreed scientist, does not want you thinking out of the box. Just like the religion, the pastor doesn't want you thinking out of the box when it comes to spirituality. There's a set way. Okay, so what we must use is our peripheral vision. We have hardly begun to realize its possibilities, and it seldom, if ever, occurs to us that one of its most important uses is for that knowledge of reality, because reality isn't coming to you in a word stream. It's coming to you all at once from every side, which we try to attain by the cumbersome calculations of theology, metaphysics, and logical inference. Reference. Do you see? We chop it up. We cut it up. And this is the same example I used earlier in regards to nature. Nature's like, why are you chopping me up like that? That's certainly perspective of me that's not me. Just like the person says, why are you trying to learn me from reading a book? You're going to learn me by experiencing life with me. Do you see? And it's the same thing with life. And nature's coming along and saying to you, okay, yes, you can learn some things about me in words, but the vast majority of understanding, a wonder, isn't going to come to you in words. So please, this is nature saying, so please, consider an alternate perspective that will actually give you a deeper perspective than any of these words could have told you in theology. That's why orthodoxy is the death of mythology. Doubt is the life. You follow? Continuing. No, it's okay. We just finished reading that. Next slide. Chinese writing, being picture-based, edges closer to life. I mean, does it not? Hinting at a less abstract mindset. Have you ever thought about that? That picture-based understanding is less abstract than written understanding, and it's the written understanding people that are calling the Chinese as too abstract. You see? Because you don't realize when you're within the dysfunction itself, you don't realize that you're acting dysfunctional. And you project your frustrations onto others because your innate mind knows that you're locked in that idea of a word-made world. And your inner heart knows, no, that is not what the world is composed of. It is not composed of words. And so this is this drive inside of you to learn and grow and experience more, because you finally realize, when you look at all of the orthodoxy and all of the edicts and demands of the words, you realize, you know what? That's not real life. That's an imposed life. That's a dream. And I'm going to have to leave that space. I'm going to have to, what have I said so many times? What am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to leave the farm. If I'm going to think differently, if I'm going to behave differently, if I'm going to change, I must leave the farm. Or I'm just doing more moves in the farm. You see? And we didn't come here to be farmed. That's not why we're here. Okay. Yet we use peripheral mind daily, like in art and sports. Zen extends this to liberate from ego-bound abstractions. This links to a core pattern. Liberation involves trusting direct, non-verbal knowledge, non-verbal knowing, like how we breathe without instruction. And again, this is that intention without intention, doing without doing, acting without acting. This is that intention that you have that I described in that example of the farmer and the fox. And the farmer took all that intention that he had, and he did what in that intention of slamming the axe against the stump. He had no intention in the act of killing the fox, but the intention was what was causing him to strike the hammer. And so therefore, that intention came through his non-intention of his action, which released the axe head and killed the fox. Intention without intention. This is how nature grows. It doesn't have intention. It just grows. That's what it is. The flower blossoms. It doesn't have any intention of blossoming. It just grows into the blossom. And it's the same thing with virtuosity. It's not something that you intend. I don't wake up and say to myself, I'm going to go be virtuous to people. That's not virtuosity. It grows out of you so that when you're in the moment, you're not thinking about being virtual, but you showing virtuosity to someone. But the activity happens. Life delivers it to you. And if you are wanting to be someone that shows compassion to another, it will come out at the moment, not because you premeditated, not because you prayed for more compassion, because you were getting your hands dirty in the moment with this underlying intention in the back of your mind of loving others, but not having an intentional plan. Just like the farmer did not have a plan of killing that fox in that action. He just showed up and was getting his hands dirty in life, and he was upset and frustrated, and he was exerting himself. Natural. It's coming. He's in the river. He's flowing. You see, and it's the same exact thing in life. It's the same exact thing. Intention without intention. For liberation from Christianity's textual obsession, like the Bible as linear revelation, which is a funny oxymoron, pictorial Chinese scripts model holistic insight, evoking direct showing over verbose explanation, mirroring the Zen koan that bypasses logic. That's why there's no logic in the farmer and the fox example. There's no logic. It's all just intention without intention. It's not following a plan. It's just growing and becoming. Western distrust of feel, quote unquote, parallels religious suspicion of mysticism outside scripture. Do you follow that? You follow that? Favoring doctrinal representation. That's what the theologist wants. That's what the pastor wants. They want doctrinal representation. And what is that? They want words. They want words over. Here's the key, guys. Here's the key. Over direct experience. Why? Because in Christianity, it's belief, not faith, that gets one into heaven. Do you guys follow what is implicated in this slide here? This is enormous. Favoring this, what is the Christian? What does my dad favor when it comes to spirituality? My dad favors the theology. He wants the laws. He wants the rules. He wants to know. He wants to grasp and hold, and I got it. You see? But that person has just moored themselves down. They've just anchored. They'll never leave. They'll never grow. They're going to stay holding on because they got it right. You see? This is what happens to you. It causes dysfunction in your mind. It makes you treat nature like it can be described in words, like you can describe your friend in words. You can't. It's a disservice. It's dysfunctional. Religious suspicion of mysticism. And this is why the religious individual is suspicious of any kind of woo-woo that is outside what their religious context has taught them is appropriate. This is how the person takes their own personal experience and forces it into the religion, which is an abstraction. It's inappropriate because nature doesn't fit in the religion, in any religion. So it is inappropriate to force fit it into laws, edicts, demands, threats. You see how it's a psyop. You see how they made religion a psyop. You see what it does to people. I'm showing it to you. It causes a person to grip to belief, which is causing them to have no faith. This is inserting, this is inculcating dysfunction straight into the individual by making them believe, because if they don't believe, they're under threat of hell. This is not how you foster awareness. This is how you divvy out abuse. This is how you rape the mind of that individual. By causing them, by threatening them and saying, if you don't believe in this way, if you don't believe in this God, if you don't believe that you're a sinner, friend, you are going to hell. Going straight to hell, friend. You see, this isn't how you foster awareness. This isn't how you foster appreciation. This isn't how you foster respect. You don't do it through threat. You don't do it through laws and demand. You tease these things out. You coax these things out. And this is why you know any religion that is giving you directives, orthodoxy, laws, edicts, commands, threats. Folks, what does that tell you? What is the religion telling you? It's telling you, just like the Satanist on the front end, it's telling you what it's dysfunctional in. It's telling you what it can't see right on the front end. The Bible cannot see a picture world. It cannot see it. It cannot describe a picture world. It's a world of words. The Bible understands nature and the world through words. It's telling you through words, commands. It's not asking you anything. It's telling you. And this is how you know it's tyrannical in its approach, because humans aren't told to obey. They're fostered in obedience. Obedience is teased out of the individual by identifying with that other. It's teased out. It's not demanded. That's why you don't tell your spouse or your child, you will love me or I will punish you. What are you doing? And this is what the Bible is saying to every single convert. You will believe this way or I will punish you. You will be punished forever. This is not how you foster appropriate behavior. This isn't how you foster love. This is how a tyrant behaves. This isn't how a shepherd behaves. This is how a tyrant behaves. A tyrant demands that you believe. None of you would be here listening to me if every week I was telling you, I'm right and all you clowns are wrong. How many people would listen anymore? What exactly is the Bible doing? I'm right, meaning the Bible saying this is truth, this is right, and if you believe differently, you're wrong. This is how you create fanatics. This is how you create narcissists. This is how you create people that are untenable, that are unwilling to change. They are locked in the words, shackled in, and ready to defend them to their death. That's why they see themselves as a sinner, and they will defend that statement until they die. They'll die believing without any doubt that they're a sinner. And this is because they have been fostered with demands. They have been fostered in threats. They have been fostered in right belief. They have been fostered with no faith in a no faith situation, because there is no faith in Christianity. There's no faith in Islam. There's no faith in Judaism. None. None. Okay. And so the reason people don't see it is the same reason we were talking about the counseling before. They're too locked in it. They're too tied down and embedded and enmeshed with it. The religionist. And this is why they've become dysfunctional, intolerant. They will not accept any other world but what has been told to them. And what do we know? The only truth that you can know is what you experience, not what you're told. So you can see right on the face of it, as we walk into Zen, you can see we've got a real problem here, friend. We've got a problem in the whole spiritual world and understanding that world, or understanding that world, because we've got a model, namely Western religion, that puts the mind into dysfunction, puts the mind into threat, puts the mind into illusion, and then encourages that mind to stay there. Whereas the Zen approach is, here's a wonder. Let's have a conversation. There's nothing to actually believe. It's just a conversation about thoughts, ideas, and considerations to try and make sense of this thing that doesn't fit into words. In other words, we are honoring nature by that approach. We are honoring nature, which is why it's such a cohesive understanding to your spirit, because your spirit also understands through words, through pictures, not words. Experiences, not demands. Experiences, not the finite. Okay, you guys get the point. You guys get the point. Continuing, and yet, as in athletics or art, we intuitively navigate complexity. Do you not? When you see that running back and he's got the line in front of him and it's all happening, he intuitively finds where the weakness is. He intuitively finds where he should go, the one that gets the long run. That's what I'm pointing at. It's the musician is the same way. They've got this music and they want to ornament this work. They intuitively know the notes to play because the ornamentation isn't on the written letters. And so they're going to what is that word? Inspire. What is that word when you play music right at the moment and it's not written down, whatever that word is. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But the musician, when they're ornamenting the jazz piece, right? There's no path here. They're just going on into the jazz phrasing and the synchronicity that's going on, and even desynchronizing in jazz. You see? And they're going on the feel. They're going, now see, this is life. This is understanding the flow. There's nothing written down. They're completely going off of what they're hearing, what they're playing, the moment. Because there's no path coming. There's no destination. Music isn't going anywhere. So this is a beautiful improvisation. That's the word. I'm glad I thought of it. When the musician engages in improvisation, when they improvise, you see, they're off the map and they're in the flow. Perfect example. And this is what you want in your own life. When you're in the moment, when you're in it, getting your hands dirty, right? You're improvising. And that's beautiful. There's no set way. And this is what Zen is saying. This is the appropriate approach to spirituality. Improvise. Intention without intention. Going with the flow. Following the ways of humanness. Filling your life with empathy and compassion. This will render it to you. Whereas the West is saying, read this book. These are the verses that answer that question. These are the directives you are to have. This is your telos. This is where you're going. This is who you are. Do you see how that doesn't mix at all with the way the human mind works and the way the human being is? Do you see? And you can see how you can capture a society in dysfunction by getting them to become materialists. Doesn't it make sense now what the KM were doing when they invented Christianity in 325? Doesn't it make complete sense when they twisted the words of Jesus into control mechanisms rather than ways of release? That's why they deified Jesus, so you could never question the words they gave him. Because remember, it was the Catholic Church that translated the words of Christ. So they just simply deify the guy, and then whatever words they use as the words that he used can't be questioned. And we're the authorities, we're the translators. This is what Jesus said, and you can't question Jesus, friend. Do you see how that's a trap? Do you see how you can twist a guru's intention of releasing you into a way of capturing you? This is exactly what happened with Western religion. Exactly. That's why Judaism is like that. That's why Islam is like that. That's why Christianity is like that. They're capturing systems. They're not release systems. They're not liberation systems. They're capturing systems. To apprehend reality non-verbally, freeing from ego's abstract narratives like sin and chance towards effortless, breath-like presence. Isn't that beautiful? Breath-like presence, which dissolves the lexicon of religious dogma. Next slide. Watts. When we turn to ancient Chinese society, we find two philosophical traditions playing contemporary parts: Confucianism and Taoism. Confucianism is more the law and the rigor. Taoism is more the flow and the becoming. Generally speaking, meaning in the East, generally speaking, the former, meaning Confucianism, concerns itself with the linguistic, ethical, legal, and ritual conventions which provide the society with its system of communication. In many ways, Christianity is like Confucianism in that right. So this is a beautiful juxtaposition for us to juxtapose Confucianism and Christianity with the Tao. Confucianism, in other words, preoccupies itself with conventional knowledge, and under its auspices, children are brought up so that their originally wayward and whimsical natures are made to fit in the Procrustean, what a word, uniformity, conformity, bed of the social order. The individual defines himself and his place in society in terms of the Confucian formulae. And there you see it right there. By learning underneath this Confucianism, underneath this Christianity, children are brought up so that they're originally wayward. That's the rascality in you that makes you a beautiful person. The wayward and whimsical natures are made to fit in a uniformed conformity, the bed of the social order. And you say, Chuck, what do you mean the social order? Here, what is the role of the social order? Well, the sociological function. Now here is going to open a door that's unbelievable. Watch. To validate, what is the role of the sociological function? To validate and maintain a certain and specific moral order. That's called convention. Like the cosmological function, the social order evolves dramatically over time. And how many times have I said to you guys, the Great Awakening is the death of the old mythologies, the death of the old religions. It's the death of the Western religions. It's the death of these ideas. Those are because they are conventions, and the spiritual world is evolving. That's what you see happening right now. The spiritual world is evolving. It is developing past the limitations that have been inculcated into all of us being raised in the West. It's moving past that. That's what Zen is doing for us today. Okay. Peculiar life customs of this societal dimension, such as ethical laws and social rights, and the value of human life, most definitely, are carried out here. The social function and its rights through which life is bound establishes, key phrase there, life is bound, establishes in the members of the group concerned a system of sentiments and traditions that can be deployed to link that person spontaneously to their own ends. And here's the pro tip to open this for you. The mythology, the myth points, okay? The social order tells you, how do I foster love in the child? I point to that space of love by rendering love, by showing love to the child. I don't demand the child to love, which is the act of telling. The Bible isn't asking you. It's not pointing and saying, hey, do you kind of see it? It's saying this, as I, meaning the Bible, is describing it. This is the truth. This is nature. This is your identity. It is telling you. Whereas the myth, a good myth, points so that this deeper understanding teases out of you. I'm not going to tease out of the child through anger. I'm going to tease out of the child through love. I'm not going to tease the spirit out of the individual by demand. I'm going to tease the spirit out of the individual through authentic experience. These are vast differences to reaching understanding. Do you follow? It's important you get this. The point of the myths then were to point to a deeper understanding and fundamental of the universe, not to socialize people into a religion. We see here in my looking further at the role of mythology, the 4 functions of mythology. A good mythology has these functions, and you guys can pause this and read this sometime. The good mythology has these functions within it, and when it's thriving and sustaining life and carrying that individual from birth to death, it is in the proper order, meaning the mythology can reach that individual at that intrinsic sense level, meaning it's appropriate. And I've told you guys many times, the whole purpose of what we're doing here on My Lives is to develop a new mythology. A mythology that doesn't lock you down into religion, that doesn't lock you down into laws and edicts and demands, but a mythology that teases out of you, that coaxes out of you love, understanding, connection, purposefulness, compassion to others, respect for oneself, respect for others, to tease these things out. Because when I demand it, it's not authentic. That's how you know that Christianity is inauthentic. It's demanding you to believe. It's demanding you choose what it says. It's not authentically approaching you with respect and humiliation to you as an individual and saying to you, hey, here's some ideas you should consider. Try them out. Here's some things that might open your eyes and open your mind. No, it's coming in and saying, here's the plot. Here's the situation you're in, and you had better obey or you're done. This isn't how I tease appropriate behavior out of an individual. That doesn't happen through threat. Because to behave appropriately, I'm acting from the heart. Well, the heart isn't commanded. You can't tell the heart what to do, just like you can't tell your heart who to love. You can't tell your heart what your favorite food is. It doesn't listen to you. Not in that way. Do you understand? And so if I'm trying to evoke this spiritual side that is inside of me to coax it out, I can't do that threatening it. I can't do it forcing it, and I can't do it through words. I do it through word pictures. I do it through the imagination and cognizing the deeper principle, because the deeper principle, the truth, doesn't fit into words. You guys get the point. Be sure to read this when I send my Zen packages to the Zoom members. Okay, next one. What time is it? Great, we got time. Confucianism and Taoism as complementary forces. Confucianism socializes us, forcing spontaneity into order at the cost of naturalists. That's what I was just talking about. The inauthenticity of life is exaggerated when I try to describe life, nature, through words. So I lose the naturalness of the moment, the naturalness of spontaneity because of laws, because of threats. You see, creating a kind of mental rigidity via adversarially oriented self-relations. I mean, what's a sinner? They are related to themselves through an adversarial means, right? Because they're fallen. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Because they're fallen. They're their own adversary. It's setting you up to already have dislikes about yourself because it's told you to, right? Because you're a sinner. So you're going to lose your natural approach to life because now you're going into life with a predetermined idea that the world is fallen and that I'm a sinner, that God is outside looking in, a mechanic, a boss, an authority. You see, and I am setting up that person for adversarially oriented self-relations. That's why there has to be a death of Jesus in order for you to even have relationship to God. It's coming through this adversarial, conflict-oriented idea, rigidity. It makes the convert rigid. They're not going to believe differently because they've been told if you believe differently, you're done. You're done. You see? And so they're locked in. This is taking away the naturalness of life, which often leads to addiction, incoherence, and neurosis. I mean, how on the money is this? How on the money is this in psychology? When you lose your naturalness, well, you, of course, are going to be led to addiction, incoherence, and neurosis. Why wouldn't you be? You're under threat. Obey or die. Through unconventional means, Taoism responds to rigidity by developing self-soness or spontaneity, zhizhuan. That's the way that's pronounced, zhizhuan, or spontaneity, not as in childish whimsy, but through perspectives that cultivate mental freedom. Let's continue. Perspective effervescence from Taoism offers a model for release, that's liberation, from religious dogma. So Taoism is offering you a model to release from religious dogma. Do you see the heresy? Do you see the suggested heresy? I am suggesting you right now. I am full-blown suggesting to you a heretical act. Release through the perspective effervescence of Taoism. Western Christianity acts like Confucianism in many ways, imposing a moral order. In other words, you will submit via threat. Do as you're told, which suppresses natural impulses, obviously. Fuels adversarial relations, obviously. That's why all you guys that are going to Thanksgiving dinner and you've left Christianity and you're dreading being with your family, it's because you know what you're walking into. You're walking into an adversarial relationship situation because the Christian has no time for a world that doesn't have Jesus, for a Thanksgiving meal that doesn't start with a prayer. No time. No time. Right? This is how you set up adversarial relations. Breeds rigidity. That's why the Christian is so rigid in their belief and fosters guilt-induced disorders like chronic shame. Why is the Christian asking for forgiveness all the time? They're in chronic shame because they're a sinner. Habitual confession. Why is the Christian confessing all the time? Because they think they're a sinner. Addiction to relief. Why is the Christian confessing all the time? Because they want to feel that relief, because relief is a drug. And what is this? They are grasping to life. That's why they're doing that. I just laid out all the psychology of the Christian to you right there. I just laid it out right there. Let's read this together. This is so beautiful. I'm going to read the whole paragraph at once. Please listen to this. This is one of the greatest things a Christian could hear to help them escape their bind. Perspective effervescence from Taoism offers a model for release from religious dogma. Western Christianity acts like Confucianism in many ways, imposing a moral order, submission via threat, which suppresses natural impulses, fuels adversarial relations, breeds rigidity, and fosters guilt-induced disorders like chronic shame, habitual confession, addiction to relief, and grasping to life. These fester and cost the individual, I should have written convert, these fester and cost the convert discernment, authenticity, because they're always trying to be a non-sinner, and growth. You see? Self-consumption. Taoism, Zen counters verbal insistence by cultivating mature, spontaneous, authentic humanness, akin to grace. This will be tough for the Christian. Akin to grace without dogma or appropriateness without demand. It doesn't revolt, avoiding tyrannical secularism, thank God, but uses conventions wisely, right? That's the parable. That's the koan. Liberating from religious oversaturation through effortless freedom in the present. Bam! That is the best paragraph. Oh my God, that's one of the best paragraphs I've ever written. I should put that in my book. Oh my God. Continuing. Watts. Taoism, on the other hand, is generally a pursuit of older men, and especially of men who are retiring from active life in the community. Their retirement from society is a kind of outward symbol of an inward liberation from the bounds of conventional patterns of thought and conduct. This is so awesome. They are in the process of fulfilling by what? By what? By release. Release. Anti-anxiety. And that's where the fulfillment is there for you. It's the anxious individual that always feels empty, you see. It's the non-anxious individual that feels fulfilled. That's why there's no anxiousness there. There's no lack. There's no empty. You see? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. This is so good. For Taoism concerns itself with unconventional knowledge, with the understanding of life directly. Love it. Get your hands in it instead of the abstract, linear terms of representational thinking. What? This is so brilliant. Thank you, Alan. Confucianism presides then over the socially necessary task of forcing the original spontaneity of life into the rigid rules of convention. A task which involves not only conflict and pain, but also the loss of that peculiar naturalness, there it is again, losing it, and unself-consciousness for which little children are so much loved. That's why we love kids, man. They say it like it is, man. Kids will tell you. If you think you're fat and you don't want, or you think you're a fat person, you ask a kid, hey, do you think I'm fat? They'll tell you. Oh yeah, you're huge. You're a blimp. It's brilliant. Total honesty. And that's what we love as human beings, do we not? Totally authentic. The kid is totally unaware of himself. He's just being the kid. He's going around doing his thing, right? And there's no intention anywhere, right? There's no telos. Just get up. What's going on, Ma? Right? And just entering into the day. And this is how we are to behave in life all the way into adulthood. Seriously. This is freedom. This is joy, right? Absolutely freaking brilliant. Okay. Confucianism presides then over the socially necessary task of forcing the original spontaneity of life into the rigid rules of convention, a task which involves not only conflict and pain, but also the loss of that peculiar naturalness and unself-consciousness for which little children are so much loved, and which is sometimes regained by saints and sages. The function of Taoism is to undo the inevitable damage of this discipline, meaning Christianity and Confucianism, and not only to restore, but to develop, look at this, the original spontaneity, meaning you, to have the spontaneity. Imagine you so release life that you can release and realize the spontaneity of a child. Imagine if every day that was your life. Imagine how honest, fulfilling, transparent, nutrient-rich your life would be, right? Approaching it in that way. I mean, it is telling you right on the front end, this is it. Next slide. Caution. Here's the caution. For the spontaneity of a child is still childish, like everything else about him. His education fosters his rigidity. See? Education fosters his rigidity, but not his spontaneity. You ever thought about that? This is why your autodidact philosopher is one of your greatest assets. The philosopher that has no degree on the wall, because they have been in the trenches and considering things of their own accord. And so they can offer you a perspective that doesn't come from books. They can offer you a perspective that comes from experience. And this is where the philosopher, the one at the university, fails. Because they have learned through books. They haven't learned through the arduous sense of going out and finding out for yourself, meaning the work it takes to discover the truth. You see, truth cannot be handed to you. It cannot be read. It is something you experience. In certain cultures, the conflict between social convention and repressed spontaneity is so violent that it manifests itself in crime, insanity like addiction, and neurosis like giving one's brain to an ideology, which are the prices we pay for the otherwise undoubted benefits of order. But Taoism must, on no account, be understood as a revolution against convention. Although it has sometimes been used as a pretext for revolution, Taoism is a way of liberation, which never comes by means of revolution, since it is notorious that most revolutions, follow this, establish worse tyrannies than they destroy. I mean, how true is that, my God? To be free from convention is not to spurn it. You see, not to spurn it, but not to be deceived by it. It is to be able to use it as an instrument instead of being used by it. And here it is, and this is the beauty of discernment. That spontaneity is a tool. It's something that just comes out. And what Taoism, what Alan is saying here, is that you are not to be frivolous in the sense of spontaneity. There is to be a flow, not whatever. You see, there's a self-organizing aspect to the flower, just like there's a self-organizing aspect to your becoming. You see, and that doesn't happen through frivolous means. It doesn't happen through directed means. It happens through authentic, natural becoming means. You see, and this is why release, holding to the laws and edicts, is so important, but not release in the sense of, well, I'm going to become a tyrant. I'm not going to follow these laws of morality anymore, and what feels good to me is going to go. And so I want to go out and kill people, and I want to go out and rape people, and I want to go out and do whatever I want. You see, that is using this information in a way that will harm you. Discernment is required here, friend. You can't be dumb and continue to grow, meaning spiritually. You can't keep just taking it, drinking it in, expecting to be grow. You have to initiate. Autodidact. You must go out and explore for yourself. Stop following the rules, but not in the sense of I'm going to become a tyrant, but in the sense of I'm going to stop doing this stuff how you were telling me. And I'm going to figure out another way that makes sense to me, because I know that I am a nature creature and I don't respond well to a linear world, to a linear function. I respond well to giving myself to life, risking myself in life, and finding out for myself what truth is. There's a real responsibility there. This is why you have to keep kids, tied into a very strong moral standard. They're going to harm themselves as they grow up. But when they become an adult, when they hit puberty, release. They got to relearn the whole thing all over again. Because discernment is required to understand. The child is not going to understand the depths that you do as an adult because you have experience. So the child has to be contained in a moral order. You have to do it. It's the way it is. And just as Alan said, just as Joe said, that must be unlearned. You unlearn all these things that you learned growing up to stay moral. And you learn a new morality that's based on empathy rather than judgment. You see? That's measured on self responsibility rather than it being beaten into you. You follow? Self-responsibility is required. There's a maturity that's required to engage this Zen idea. That's why he's saying the Taoists, these guys, they're going off into the forest. They've already lived their life. And this is how they're finding out this deeper insight. And as we move into another paradigm, as a society, as a culture, in this great awakening, these old ways are changing. And how we understand spirit is developing in a different way than it was when you grew up as a child. It's not like that anymore. The truth hasn't changed, but our understanding of it has. And this must be developed. Really good stuff. Okay, continuing. Watts, the West has no recognized institution corresponding to Taoism because our Hebrew Christian tradition, spiritual tradition, identifies convention, also known as materialism. This might almost be called a major cultural catastrophe because it weighs the social order with excessive authority, inviting just those revolutions against religion and tradition, which have been so characteristic of Western history. Have they not? It is one thing to feel oneself in conflict with socially sanctioned conventions, but quite another to feel at odds with the very root and ground of life, with the absolute self. And I mean, what does Western religion do? What did I say earlier? Put you into conflictive relationships, separates you. You see? Are you following? I am laying it out so clearly. There's no way you can't see it. Even if you're a hardcore Christian for 50 plus years, I am showing you the truth, which doesn't change, which shows you the psychology that is inappropriate to any kind of spiritual idea that works through threat and demand and judgment. Do you see? Self-responsibility is required. Not a boss. Self-responsibility is required. Stop looking for a boss. You are the boss of your own life. You yourself live with your consequences, not your boss. You see? Take charge of your life. The latter feeling nurtures a sense of guilt so preposterous that it must issue either in denying one's own nature or in rejecting God. I mean, is that not what Christianity demands? Denying your own nature. Well, calling yourself a sinner, you're denying the perfection that you are. It's like saying, no, those clouds are shaped wrong. No, those planets are in the incorrect orbit. No, the atmosphere is wrong. No, the way water flows is wrong. It doesn't shape itself correctly. This is what happens when, right here, the latter feeling nurtures a sense of guilt so preposterous, namely sin, that it must issue either in denying one's own nature, giving your brain to the catechism, or in rejecting God, which is ultimatum, which is not love, it's coercion. Meaning, if you don't love me this way that I say in the Bible, you're out. That's not love, that's coercion. Do you tell your children how to love you? No. Not a loving parent doesn't. A loving parent never commands their children to love them, never tells them how to love them, never asks them to love them. And what do you see all strewn through the Bible? You must love God. You must follow this way. You must behave in this way. You must believe this way. Tyranny. Spiritual tyranny. Because the first of these alternatives is ultimately impossible, denying one's own sense, exactly. The second becomes inevitable, rejecting God, where such palliatives as the confessional are no longer effective. What did I just say just a second ago? Self-responsibility. There's no need to confess. You don't need forgiveness. You don't. The wrong things you do in life are what teach you. Learn from them, behave different. That's the self-responsible approach. Stop seeking a boss. Stop seeking someone to hold you accountable. Friend. I tried that my entire life, and just so you know, it ends in your demise. Just so you know. It gave me cancer. Just so you know. You must change. You must change. Next slide. Watts. As the nature of revolutions, the revolution against God gives place to the worst tyranny of the absolutist state. Can I read that again? Sorry. Watts. As is the nature of revolutions, the revolution against God gives place to the worst tyranny of the absolutist state. Worse, because it cannot even forgive, and because it recognizes nothing outside the powers of his jurisdiction. This is the Christian that doesn't recognize any other spiritual form or understanding of God other than its own Christian take. The Islamist and Jew are the same way. That's called cult tyranny. When the throne of the absolute is left vacant, meaning no form, no image, right? No attachment, the relative usurps it and commits the real idolatry, the real indignity against God, the absolutizing of a concept, a conventional abstraction. This is why you never put God into a form. It's inappropriate, but it is unlikely that the throne would ever have become vacant if, in the sense, it had not been so already. If the Western tradition had developed some way of apprehending the absolute directly outside the terms of the conventional social order, and I'm sorry, I've just gotten inundated with a bunch of texts. Someone is trying to reach me. Sorry, hang on. Sorry. Okay, sorry, that wasn't for me. Sorry, I was getting a text. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I was getting a text right in the middle of that, and I thought I had missed something, and it completely screwed up my train of thought. Okay, if the Western tradition had developed some way of apprehending the absolute directly, which they haven't, obviously, outside the terms of conventional social order. And you see, this is what it basically is again explaining to you, that the Western tradition has attempted to costume this impossible to understand energy, impossible to comprehend, understand energy. And by forcing it into absolutes, has destroyed it, has caused it to disappear from the throne, has usurped it. This is a very deep insight into how self-consumption works. Next slide. Of course, the very word absolute suggests to us something abstract and conceptual, such as pure being. Our very idea of spirit, as opposed to matter, seems to have more kinship with the abstract than the concrete. But with Taoism, as with other ways of liberation, the absolute must never be confused with the abstract. You see? On the other hand, if we say that the Tao, as the ultimate reality is called, is the concrete rather than the abstract, this may well lead to still other confusions, for we all are accustomed to associate the concrete with the material, the psychological, the biological, and the natural, as distinct from the supernatural. And here's the key. Life is a wonder. Those things are the supernatural. This is what you must understand. This is what it's pointing at. We're accustomed to associate the concrete with the material, the physiological, the biological, and the natural as distinct from the supernatural, and they're not, because everything is connected. Everything is one, and it is cutting up the world like these Western disciplines do, that causes it to completely dissolve, meaning unrecognizable. The throne has been abandoned. And you do this through demand by chopping it all up and trying to have finite definitions. And this isn't how understanding is found. It's like if a person says to you, I want you to understand the music of Bach, but I'm never going to play you a note. I'm going to tell you about it. Are you going to have any clue to the music of Bach? No, you must hear it. And the Taoist is saying the same thing. You're not going to understand spirit being told about it. You must experience it in the authentic sense, spontaneously, without planning, without expecting it. This is the true spirit. And this is exactly what this is pointing you towards. But from the Taoist and Buddhist standpoints, these are still terms for conventional and abstract spheres of knowledge. To say that the concrete reality of the human organism is physiological is like saying that the earth is just so many tons or acres. You see, it's short of the truth. To say that this reality is natural is accurate enough if we mean spontaneous or nature naturals. And that's basically just saying, understanding it from this holistic perspective. Pro tip. It's hard to see a world that is programmed as natural, isn't it? That was part of the programming, to so disorient you that nature became an institution to have dominion over rather than a wonder to experience, a realm to manipulate rather than to foster. And again, all of these slides, and I know you guys will go back and read more as you go because you're going to have to find your own understanding. All of these slides are pointing towards the same truth, and that is the profundity, the wonder can't be put into words. So stop trying to put into words. Use words as necessary to help, but that is not the end thing. And it is best to picture these things with your mind, in your imagination, like the words of the Chinese, picturing Zen, picturing the Tao. and picturing these things through your imagination, not through words, through your experience, not through threat and demand. You follow? That is what these slides are pointing towards. So you may not get one or two or however many of them. Go back through them and understand what their telos is. They're trying to release you. Release you from the holds of materialism. Release you from the holds of the finite. Release you from the holds of belief, demand, threat. Release you from those things, but not because you cognitively chose to, but because you naturally abandoned them, left them without thinking about it. Intention without intention. This is why it's such a trick. Zen is a trick because you're using conventional means, but you're trading them for this this picturesque type of understanding that's past the words. So you have to have the words in one sense or maybe another to get a cognizance, but you see, it has to meld into pictures. It must move into a bigger realm than what the words ask, demand, require. And this is why it's tricky. It's not all one or all the other. It's both. Just like any situation you're in with your kids that may be disobeyed, you're going to have to get all the story before you're going to get the whole story. And it's the same thing with this spiritual side that seems to be fleeting from you. You need to get the whole story before you're going to understand, oh, this is how I appropriately respond, react, am with something that is beyond profundity, that is beyond words, that is even beyond wonder. You see, you got to approach this thing from a totally different perspective, and most importantly, from a holistic, holism perspective, because everything's connected. Okay? Next slide. 2 more and we're done. This is second to the last. Thus, to begin to understand what Taoism is about, we must at least be prepared to admit the possibility of some view of the world other than the conventional, some knowledge other than the contents of our surface consciousness, which can apprehend reality only in the form of one abstraction at a time. And here again, avoiding that. There is no real difficulty in this, for we will readily admit that we know how to move our hands, how to make a decision, or how to breathe, even though we can hardly begin to explain how we do it in words. We know how to do it because we just do it. And this is how you know that you are filled with omniscience. This is how. Omniscience isn't the ability to explain everything in words, because that can't be done. It's just doing it. Ask any mother, ask any artist, ask nature. They just do it. They're not thinking about it. Mom is not sitting there thinking, okay, what do I have to do today to grow my baby? No, it naturally grows because she has the omniscience in her. She is composed of spirit. What is density? Is spirit becoming matter. Density. She is dense with spirit. So there's nothing missing. There's nothing missing. It's just that you can't put that kind of thing into words. The artist, they go and they have this huge mural, and with a paintbrush in their hand, bring to life this scene on white canvas. There's no directions for it. It just comes out of them. The musician, they have no idea how to put into words these emotions that they're feeling, these words that are going through their mind, but they can put it into music. Do you see? Life is musical. It's art. You speak with it. You approach it. You understand it through artistic means. That's why there's not a competition at the school. Who's the best painter? That's ridiculous. It's like these yoga competitions. Who's the best yoga? And no, you've missed the point entirely. You've missed the point entirely. You are a wonder. You are a wonder. There is an entirely different way to understand a wonder than there is a way to understand a book. An entirely different way. That's why nature doesn't fit in a book. Here we go. There is no real difficulty. I read that. We know how to do it because we just do it. Taoism is an extension of this kind of knowledge. That's it right there. Taoism is an extension of that kind of knowledge. What knowledge? That knowledge that knows how to make the baby but can't put it into words. The knowledge that knows how to make the painting but can't put it into words. The knowledge that knows how to make the music but can't put it into words. An extension which gives us a very different view of ourselves from that to which we are conventionally accustomed. You see, you've been accustomed to a certain type of spiritual convention and you're walking away from that with Zen. And a view which liberates the human mind from its constricting identification with the abstract ego. Got it? I'll jump into chat here in 1 sec. We're almost done. This is the last slide right here. This is the last slide, and I'm going to chat. Absolute isn't abstract or supernatural, but concrete, yet not merely material or classified, i.e. biological. Taoism's Tao is spontaneous reality apprehended directly, not through sequential thoughts. That's why you can't plan it. You can't plan rapture. You can't plan spontaneity. You just simply participate. You risk. We already have nonverbal knowledge, moving hands and deciding. Taoism extends this, liberating from abstract ego identification. The absolute as concrete, spontaneous, Zidran, defies Western dualisms, neither ghostly supernatural nor reducible to scientific categories like biology. Isn't that brilliant? Tao is nature, naturing, the ongoing flow grasped intuitively like hand moving, bypassing linearity. This liberates from traps like Christianity's abstract God-ego divide, dissolving the ego as a fixated, sinful entity into direct, egoless participation in reality via identifying with the Tao. Good. We did it. Good stuff. And that hand opening thing, what he's saying is here, I go from a fist to an open hand. Okay. Well, there's no between. I have a fist, I have a hand. There's no between. So in words, how do I describe that? Because this is a fist and this is a hand, but both my fist and my hand are my hand, and my hand forms a fist. And you see, when you begin to try to describe, now how do I open my hand? And what is that? The opening of the hand, what is that? What's the word for that? Action, well, that doesn't fully do it. Opening the hand, well, that doesn't fully do it. You see, it's not finite. And that's why he's using this example. And imagine with spirituality how much more complex it is than just a fist. And so Alan is just trying to show you through practical means, there aren't words for all of these things. There aren't words where your dreams came from. There's no words to describe that. There's no words of our origin. There's no way to describe our origin. There's no words to describe our future. It's open. Who knows what's going to happen? We're in the crux of a major bifurcation of the human species right now, in fact. You see? And so this is just simply Zen, Alan, is just simply trying to tease out of you this deeper spiritual sense that's been there this whole time. You just haven't known it because you've been locked in words. Let's go to comments. Yes, that is my email right there. Contact. Thank you, Kenneth. Contact Chuck Jr. at yahoo.com. That's me. Hi, Chuck. Though I'm late, thank you in advance. I will rewatch. Right on. Awesome. Once we understand this is illusory, next move is continued growth. Do you ever finish growing? Does the garden ever finish growing? No. Continue to grow. Continue to learn. Continue to expand your consciousness. That never stops. And some people even believe that your soul is continually expanding through the lifetimes that you live. So there's no ending. There's no ending. You just keep going. Awesome. Totally glad you liked it. Some of this stuff's hard to understand. I get it. Either request the slides from the Zen from me through my email, or if you go to Zoom, every week when I send out the invitations for Zoom, everybody gets the package of slides from the last week. And that will allow you to go over them during the week, and you can develop questions and everything, so that when Friday comes, you've got questions to say, hey, Chuck, When you talked about this, I didn't understand what you were pointing towards. I didn't understand what Taoism was saying. Okay, so if you want to deep dive, if you want to go further, just simply take the slides that I've made, develop your question, and then you can ask me at Zoom, or you can ask me the following Saturday. Okay. Here we are. Chuck, where do you see that the supernatural fits in our reality? Our reality is supernatural. Miracles, healing, curses. Are there no forces, good and evil, that exist external to ourselves? They're part and parcel of the whole. There is no separation. That's why we are in a supernatural world. We've just learned to see it as a purgatory, not as a paradise, you see. But we are in the midst of supernaturality. That's you. That's me. That's mom when she gives birth to the baby. That's humankind when we build skyscrapers and empires. This is supernatural behavior, friend. And just limiting it to miracles or healing or curses, you're limiting the term supernatural. My talking to you right now, some of you are across the world in New Zealand, and it's 2 in the morning or whatever, 8 in the afternoon. I don't know. That's supernatural. How incredible is that? I am in your phone right now talking to you. That's incredible. And I'm in some distant land from you. This is why we have to change our concept of the now. We are in a supernatural state. That is living life. That's called living in rapture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I totally understand it. If you can homeschool, I definitely encourage it. I used to not, but now I do. I think it's a really good call. Parents are the best teachers of their own children, in my opinion. Mom is incredible, incredible teacher. Just has a natural ability in her because she has so many nesting instincts and teaching instincts in her because she's a mom. She's ready to raise a child. She's built for it. Okay. What are you wondering? Chuck, here we are. I haven't read this. I don't know what it says. Chuck, hi DB, welcome. Can you refresh my memory on Jesus of the feeding of the fish parable and the real message behind it? Yeah, that's the message of dualism, that we were in the fish constellation, Pisces, and he was elucidating this through that time where he is feeding the masses, the deeper knowledge, the deeper sense, which is the Piscean age, which is the Piscean tendencies which shape and form the world. And the 2 fish was turned into this whole materialistic idea that he was feeding the thousands. He wasn't. He was a sage that is in midst of the Pisces, which is where we were at for the last 2,000 years, 2,500 years or so, right? And he is teaching in that capacity. He is showing the group this deeper insight. And you see, this is how you can see the materialism. The church comes along and they make it into an actual historical event. It was never meant to be that. It was meant to be teaching this deeper understanding of the world, this sense that you are in a deeper wonder than you realize. And there are forces, stars, that are round about you that have electromagnetic effect on you and cause the human collective to tend in certain ways. In the same way, if you're raised in an alcoholic family, you're going to have a tendency to become an alcoholic. Right. And so if you're raised in the Piscean age of the solar system or of the stellar system, right, there's going to be a tendency for Piscean characteristics, namely duality. Do you see? And Christ was saying in that situation, don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in the world. Don't get caught up in the duality. This is just an expression of the great universe. So commingle and get into that energy. Get on that river and start flowing with this Piscean energy. And what do we see happening right now with the Great Awakening? We're moving into the Aquarian age. Water bearer. We're moving into the Aquarius. This is why knowledge is permeating all the people. This is why the idea of love and compassion and connecting to others is beginning to happen here. And we're beginning to see that, hey, we're not a society that's to be in war all the time and in conflict all the time, Piscean. We're moving out of that into this new age of liberation, of knowledge, which is water, of love, of connectivity. And what do you see the internet doing? Connecting all of us. We're following in other words, the energy of the universe The Great Awakening is an expression of moving into the water-bearing age and seeing these deeper principles, patterns, you can become more appropriate. Do you see? That's what that's about. Yeah, that's about. Welcome. I don't fucking know. I love the name. Love the name. That is outstanding. What a great answer. I don't know. I don't know is one of the best answers you could possibly give. It's fantastic. Because most of the world you can't know. Yes. Thank you, Stacy. If you guys would like to go to the Zoom, it's by invitation only. You have to send me an email and you have to say, hey, Chuck, I would love to go to your Zoom on Friday because I got questions or because I want to sit and listen, or you want to go and see other people that are part of the chat, whatever. There's no agenda. But if you would like to be there, I had an example of it at the beginning of this video. You're welcome to come. Just send me an email and I'll send you an invitation. That's how that works. That's how you can be a part of it. Right on. I know the race is about to start, Pablo. I'm so excited. I can't believe I've got a Formula One race in 15 minutes. It's fantastic. Okay. Here we go. What caused? Hi, Robert. What caused the people to build pyramids? I don't think we built them, Robert. I think they were built by other ages, other organisms and beings that preceded us. Could the unity it takes to build such things be cultish or philosophy or forced behavior through religion? It could be any of those things. We're in a wonder. I don't think humans built the pyramids, though. Yeah, neither do I. Neither do I. We are a biology, a form that has been compromised by what I believe to be alien or foreign organisms that formed us into an easily harvestable being that was rich. That's why we were called containers by them. We are filled with love, filled with spirit, filled with compassion, filled with empathy, filled with motivation, filled with drives, naturally. That is genetically in us. The drive to build a house or to build a sanctuary or a place sacred. The drive to engage in ritualistic practice and worship and understanding nature from a deeper and deeper fundamental level. These are in us. The desire to connect and be connected to others, connected to nature, connected to ourselves. These are innate in us, right? And that kind of thing was also in the creatures that preceded us. But we have been compromised in our DNA. So we don't have the facility that those organisms that came before us had. I also believe they shrunk us. They made us a lot shorter, a lot smaller, because it's easier to control, easier to manipulate, easier to torture, easy to destroy. So yeah, there's a long story and there's lots of parts to it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't think the pyramids were made by us. I think they were made by former cultures that preceded us. Hello. Hello from the Netherlands. Yes. Love it. It must be late there. But thanks for being here. Thanks for your dedication. Do you guys got any questions, or we're going to start to wrap it up here? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You fit the world into the world you want it to be. You know, you believe what you want to believe. And so right now, all the Christians you see running to Jesus and waiting for Jesus to come save them and all that kind of stuff is their attempt to revivify something that is dying. They're performing CPR on a religion that is basically in the midst of dying because we aren't sinners. We aren't sinners. We're not fallen. The world isn't a purgatory. It's a paradise. We've all been conditioned with lack. The Christians have been taught to think of themselves as fallen and that the only way the world can be saved is if it's destroyed. Again, Piscean age, destructive theory, the idea of conflict rather than contrast. They have to graduate and leave the inculcation that was programmed into them their entire life, meaning the Christian, and stop running in fear, stop running to a savior. I enjoyed the Zoom, but it's not my favorite thing. All good. It's not for everybody. All good. It's no problem. Yeah, it's illusion. We've been separated with our minds. That's why the mind is the crux of the situation, because the mind experiences material reality and comprehends spiritual aspects, you see? And so you can create illusions between those spaces, and that's exactly what they did with the collective. That's good to hear. But you're always welcome to go to the Zoom, love. You're always welcome. But I understand if it's not your thing. It's completely fine. Okay. Okay. Any caps? I'll just look for ones that have caps. There were over 400 or 500 statements put into chat. Yeah. Thank you. Much love to you. Much love to you for sure. Yeah, they are. You're correct, Lancelot. You are correct. What do you got to say, Stacey? Regarding powerful creators, many surgeries are successful only because of the belief of the patient that the doctor can do it, and the doctor has the confidence to do so. Yes, from time to time, that's very true. Are we good? Are you guys ready? Tonight's been a big night. It's been pretty heavy. Let's finish with that. Let's finish with that, esoteric. So 3i Atlas, we still don't know, do we? Have you guys seen the private astronomer photographs that they're sending out with this thing morphing? It's interesting. Hard to know. But it's, I think it's still anybody's guess. It is doing radical things. I think NASA is lying. I don't know if you watched the NASA Live. I watched some of it. And after a while, you feel like you're being lied to constantly. And so I couldn't continue to watch because I felt like everything they were saying about it was lies. And so I am undecided with it. I'm hoping for a solar flash, but if we don't get a solar flash on December 19, 20, right in there, then we don't, and we just keep the pace. I'm not holding to any kind of belief about it. I'm not, saying this is what it is and that's it. I'm happy to have it be a comet. I'm happy to have it be an alien spaceship. I don't care. I'm in the flow. I'm happy to be here and participating in life. So I don't have any anxiety about it. I'm just going to see what happens. Yeah, they lie all the time. Yeah, I know it's not a space. It's a propaganda agency. That's what that is. You're welcome. It's my honor and privilege. I'm glad to be here. And you know what? I thought having 20 slides was more than enough. Didn't you guys think that? I mean, this is heavy stuff we're going through here. And I even felt even a little rush trying to get through all 20 slides. So yeah, I think that's plenty for us each week because I don't want to push this too fast. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, they're the best. My chat's the best on YouTube. It's incredible. Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you, Steady Eddie. Sure. And Lancelot, they're awesome. Dude, you're naming all the heavy hitters. Nice. Nice. And all the folks full of wonder in the chat. Thank you so much, Sophia, for mentioning this. Our chat people, my chat people, us chat people really care. We really care about the collective. We really care about the collective. And so it's nice to read that. Thank you for that. Solar flash would be nice considering that is the deadline for the Epstein files release too. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, esoteric. Is it? December 19 is the deadline for the files to be released? That's winter solstice, now 3i Atlas, and now the Epstein files. This is crazy. All coalescing at the same moment. That is wild. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I will enjoy the race. Thank you. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. Thank you. And Clueless, you're beautiful too. Never forget that. Every single one of us is beautiful. There is no question about that. My goodness. All right, that's just answering someone else. Hey, thank you. Thank you. I take that as one of the biggest compliments I've ever received. We have worked very hard for our chat. Stacy, painting pictures, King Gerbo, those three people have been critical to the success of the chat. So I'm glad to hear it. So glad you guys are here. This has been really wonderful. Doctor, don't hold your breath. Yeah, I bet it often is. Yeah, I'm not. And just so you know, I'm not holding my breath on that. I am under one side that says nothing will happen. No one will be arrested. The whole thing will fall under. And I'm also under and would love the idea that they all get arrested, that they all go under, and that the world changes. But I'm game. Whatever happens. I don't know how this thing is going to unfold. I have no idea, but it's going to unfold. Let's wrap it up. I'm pretty tired. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the chat. I can play you. Do you guys want to see the last portion of just Terrence McKenna? Or should we call it a night? I'm pretty tired. We should probably just call it a night. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Cy Pigeon. Thank you for being here, friend. And thank you for being at the Zooms. Man, you stayed the whole time, dude. Thank you so much. Love you too, Stacy. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. We Be Silly Geese. What a great name. What? Come on, where'd that go? We Be Silly Geese? Yes. Here. My wife would crack up at that. She often says to me, what are you doing, silly goose? So that's fantastic. You guys would have some stuff in common, you and Jenny would. See you guys. Thanks for being here. Bye, Chuck. Bye. Not bye, Chuck. That's me. Bye, Scooter. Bye, Delilah. Bye, Katie Cat. Bye, Stacy. See you this week. Bye, John. Bye, 9mm. Thanks for being here. Bye, Clintrons. You're here all the time. Thanks for being here. Cheers to you, my friend. Yeah, my wife calls people silly goose. Bye. Bye, Missy Alpha. Heretic. Big love to you, Delilah. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everyone, for what you've done in chat, for participating. Thank you so much for making this place a place where people can feel safe enough to comment and can learn and grow. That's what I want. Okay, I'll see the Zoom people on Friday at 1, and I'll see all the rest of you on Saturday at 5. Peace out. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. See ya. Bye.